I couldn't hear you. I apologize.
Let's get it on.
Get it on.
It must be quite apparent by this time to any thinking individual that the people of our country and people of other countries all over the world are coming to face a moment of grave decision. A time when we will choose the course of our future.
Oklahoma, Texas, New York, Philadelphia, around the world, it's gonna be a big nut bust.
The Millennial Media Offensive podcast is now live.
That is correct. You're listening to MMO number 200. Today is December 30th, 2025, and from the great city and state of St. Louis, Missouri, I'm Dan Gehring.
And from America's South Coast, where I planned to have a kazoo ready for this moment, I'm John G. Dew.
And yet there is no kazoo. Is the horn nearby?
The horn is nearby. I haven't practiced, so maybe a little rusty, but we'll try it.
I think we should go for it. Let me know when you're ready. I'll prompt you. So far, 200's off to a good start.
Prompt away.
Okay. We must go into the Capitol.
You know, I knew that's what you were going to say, and it still tickled me.
We must go into the Capitol. My gosh, every blue-haired is charging their local sizzler with that horn.
Yes, 200 episodes.
Yes, congratulations, sir.
Congratulations to you. I never would have thought it.
Nor did I. Elise was saying the other day, she was like, I'm really proud of you. She's like, when I first met Elise, I was...
Okay, we can quit.
Exactly, pretty much. I was hobby jumping a lot. I was always finding a new hobby, picking it up, putting it down. Plants was one of my hobbies. That was the COVID hobby, I think. And then we started the podcast. And, a lot of my hobbies of like Python and Raspberry Pis, they all kind of culminated into coming to the show. And now 200 shows later, 4 years, we've just completed our 4th year on the offensive. And we've got people that like to listen to the show and support us. It's amazing. We built a community.
Yes, we have. We have, and hopefully it will continue to grow. Like your plants did not.
Correct. Well, 2 of them are still alive, but one's a cactus, and it's really hard to kill those.
Yes.
You have to, evacuate from a war-torn country for your cactus to die.
Yes, everyone knows cacti love the gunpowder in the air.
Right. Well,
which should be fine in St. Louis.
There's plenty of it. Plenty of it. Speaking of which, for our 200th episode, it was actually a late Christmas gift. My wife got me a backplate for my Glock 43X, and it is the MMO OTO logo. And let me tell you, this thing is a dream.
It's really nice. I saw the picture. It's very nice. It was a very thoughtful and well-executed gift.
I love it. For a man such as myself, I don't think you could have selected a better gift. So, thank you very much, Nurse Elise, Mom Elise, Wife Elise.
Yes, all the things.
All of the things. How are you doing?
I'm good. I finally have no congestion, and I think you're in the same boat. We've escaped the seasonal sniffles.
Yeah, I was starting to get it last week, Tuesday, and then I was on Dayquil for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, just not feeling well, and then I came out the other end.
Taylor's still suffering a little bit. She said she's had a headache today and still got some congestion, and Cameron still has a little bit of congestion, but she had it for a little while, so we took her into the doc yesterday and just to make sure everything was all right, get her ears checked up, make sure there wasn't an infection there or anything. And doc said she was fine, so we're gonna let it run its course a few more days before we take any more extreme measures. And I think we're on the down slope of it around here. We got the double whammy. If you recall from previous episodes, I had some congestion 3 or 4 shows ago and then had it again last week. So, and that's been everyone around here. Had it for a little while, get better, and then get it again. And that seems irregular for the seasonal flu, cold, sniffles, lab creation of the year.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely going around here, too. I know my sister-in-law, she got, like, physically sick, and we were all pretty certain on Christmas that we had the same thing because we were all feeling some type of way. But I attribute it to letting my dog lick me in the face for not not having the sickness. I don't know. But it's good to be through it, you know. Now
Clear, be able to breathe.
Yeah, whatever is coming around, I've already gotten it, so I'm effectively immune.
Well, that's the thing. When we've already spoken about the troubles of podcasting with congestion and talked about how everyone that we know has had it, then we get the media blitz about the flu.
Yeah. I imagine you got some clips on that?
I do have some clips.
Okay.
I have clips from ABC, CBS, Good Morning America, and media service no one watches.
Oh, boy.
So let's blow through some of these
Sure.
and just kind of compare and contrast. You know, we came through an era of very regimented and uniform talking points around colds. And it's interesting to see the differences that have emerged now that there's not a full court
Sorry, I'm playing around over here.
blitz. Yeah, now that there's not a full court media blitz from on high from the administration in charge, it's interesting to see the little variations in these. So let's start with, I guess, ABC. We've got 3 clips from ABC. So flu case surge, ABC.
Doctors are preparing for a surge in flu cases this week after recent CDC data shows nearly 5 million cases across the country already. New York State is seeing its worst flu outbreak in more than 2 decades. Medical correspondent Dr. Darian Sutton joins me for more on this. Dr. Sutton, always happy to get a chance to get advice from you. I know you see this firsthand. What's kind of behind this surge in flu? It seems like it's a lot worse than usual.
Yeah,
No,
the
it
emergency
doesn't.
room
Germs.
has been quite busy, Elizabeth. When you're looking at the numbers, specifically here in New York, you're correct. The numbers are the highest numbers of the flu that they've seen since we first started recording flu rates in 2004. Over 70,000 cases, and that number was dated December 20th.
That number?
That's 38% higher than
Number.
the week before. Important to note that that climb is there, and 63% higher in terms of hospitalizations. Now, what's behind this? There's a new flu variant, subclad K or subclade K. It appeared during the summer, and it appeared after the flu vaccine was manufactured. Now, that's important to understand because that can reduce the effectiveness of the vaccine. But thankfully, early evidence have still shown that these vaccines are providing protection, reducing the risk of
Right.
hospitalization and severe illness up to 40% for
How many
adults, and
conflicting
for the
points
same
can
for
this guy
children up to
have?
75%.
I mean, as you always say, it's not too late to get vaccinated. Even
Not too
Oh,
late.
it's
if
never
you
too
haven't.
late.
Yeah, it's a flu that the flu vaccine's not made for. Highest rates ever, yet the vaccine is offering protection. You know,
Yet it's effective.
yeah, exactly. Here's a shot in the dark. Maybe the people that you told to stay in their house for 3 years and never go outside and never experience any sort of germinology.
An early front runner for the show title
I
for
like
number
it.
200, Germanology.
I love it.
And we're not talking about schnitzel.
That's right. Although that would be an interesting study. A shot is maybe, you know, they didn't have any germs. And so now that people are out and about and we're no longer so worried about COVID, the flu's hitting everybody because they've weakened their immune system from lack of exposure.
Yeah, that's an interesting theory. Probably not one that anyone in medicine is going to accept, but interesting.
There you go.
So, of course, we can't talk about the flu without talking about treating kids. So, treating kids, ABC.
For kids, what do we need to know about treating kids, and why? How is this affecting kind of younger people too?
You know, I'm talking about this with parents because half of the documented numbers here in New York, half of those reported cases are children. And so the majority of patients who are coming in with illness are children. Now, important to note, children are resilient, but the risk isn't zero. Last year, we saw the deadliest flu season for children that we've ever seen since 2004. Over 280 children lost their life. Important to note, nearly 40% of those children had no prior medical history. For many, that was their first visit to the hospital and being hospitalized. So that's so important to understand that the risk is there. Now, what parents need to know is that the best way we know how to reduce that risk is, of course, through vaccination. And secondly, reducing our risk of exposure. That's by masking, because the flu virus, as well as RSV, which is also circulating, is a respiratory illness. And then washing our hands, cleaning high-touch surfaces. This is the time when you have to be extremely cautious.
This is the new climate. Oh, it was the worst flu season we've had on record.
My question is the data collection on this. Every kid who comes in with a sniffle, like I mentioned that we took Cameron to our pediatrician because she had been congested, no fever, nothing else, just congested, and we were tired of sucking her boogers every minute, seemingly. So we took her in just to make sure she was all right, and there was nothing else going on. I wonder how many people are doing that, and the pediatrician is just ticking another flu case. Say, oh, yep, prescribe some antibiotics there. That's a flu case. Ear infection there, probably because of flu. I don't know that that's happening for a fact, but you could see the incentive for doctors to do this, or you could imagine the incentive. We don't necessarily see the incentive structure itself, but you can imagine that happening.
Well, pediatricians, for instance, do make about 60% of their income on vaccines. So there is an incentive to vaccinate when you are a pediatrician. And a lot of times you can deny a child from seeing you as a ped if they don't get these recommended amount of vaccines or vaccinations.
Yes, we saw that with the COVID vaccine.
Right.
Okay, so now that we've talked about basically vaccinating twice, let's talk about the symptoms of flu.
If you are feeling a little bit of symptoms coming on, what can you do to kind of avoid that and try to keep your family healthy too?
You know, if you are starting to feel symptoms, this is when you need to keep yourself as healthy as possible. That includes rest, that includes hydration. And if you are high risk, for example, if you're over the age of 65, if you are pregnant, if you're immune compromised, or if you're having severe symptoms that are rapidly progressing, talk to your provider about antivirals like Tamiflu. We typically give those for high-risk patients, but they are best used when started within 2 days of symptom onset, and that's when they're most effective.
And you can still be contagious
and
through that
you
time.
can still be contagious during that time. It's so important to know because I diagnose the flu often, and many times I watch patients walk out of that ER, I hand them a mask, and they put it in their pocket.
No,
so just
that's
know
not what you're supposed to do.
there are many people walking around you who might be infected, and so your exposure risk is high.
Keep that in mind, especially as everybody's traveling home and keep, around each other all the time.
And viruses love cold, dry air. They love when people move inside and are close together. That's the holiday period.
I thought they liked warm and moist. Everything else likes warm and moist, but viruses like cold and dry?
Well, that logic tracks. It's cold and flu season, the winter time.
I suppose. Well, I always thought it was because
you're thinking of mold.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. I always thought it was, people say it's cold and dry, but the real reason that flu spreads so much is because everyone's inside more often because it is cold. Maybe.
Well, they do appeal to that idea with everyone being, they kind of paint the picture of everyone being huddled around inside over the holiday.
Their super
holiday
spreader
time.
Christmas party.
Right.
Celebrating the birth of Christ.
That's one of the reasons why we're not just seeing the flu rise, but we're also seeing RSV, which unfortunately is leading to a lot of infants coming into the hospital and older patients. And then there's norovirus, which causes nausea and vomiting. That also, I've seen a lot of patients with that. It's extremely infectious. So usually when I see one member of a household, I then see other members from that same household come in a day or two later.
I'm going to go wash my hands right after we finish this conversation. Dr. Darian Sutton, thank you so much, as always, for all of your insight.
Yeah, you should see when the norovirus hits a senior living facility. It's like Grandpageddon or Grandpocalypse.
Grandpocalypse.
Yeah, Grandmageddon and Grandpocalypse.
Let's move on to the next 3 clip hitter here and do MS Now. A severe flu risk, MS Now.
The holidays are officially upon us, and doctors say so are potentially dangerous variants of flu and norovirus. In a new report released by the CDC, at least 4.6 million have experienced the flu. 49,000 people have been hospitalized. 1,900 have died, including several children. Young children, infants through age 4, have been hit particularly hard this flu season. And doctors warn older adults could be next. Joining us now, Dr. Nahid Bhadelia, infectious disease physician and founding director at Boston University Center on Emerging.
Are you talking about Hebe Fidelia?
No. Could be next. Older people could be next. What is this a known vector of spread? I mean, thinking about it, I guess you could justify it by saying, okay, kids are at school, they're at daycare, they're spreading it amongst themselves. They take it home to their parents, who then relay it to grandparents. I guess I follow what she's saying, but I don't know. It seems dubious to say we've got this rising cases. The olds are next.
There's your gram again.
49,000 people have been hospitalized. 1,900 have died, including several children. Young children, infants through age 4, have been hit particularly hard this flu season. And doctors warn older adults could be next. Joining us now, Dr. Nahid Bhadelia, infectious disease physician and founding director at Boston University Center on Emerging Infectious Diseases. Doctor, I've already got my tissue here to the side. I'm starting to water here. Talk to us about this flu variant that we're seeing and why it is so aggressive.
Ariel, we've been, my center runs a outbreak surveillance platform called Beacon. So we've been tracking this H3N2 since early to mid-fall as it moves through Asia and Europe. And there are 3 quick things about this H3N2. One, it's different enough from prior strains that our bodies don't have the immune memory, so we may be hit particularly hard. 2, UK and other experiences show that kids are getting hit pretty hard, and we're starting to see that here in the US. Many of the schools have reported absenteeism, particularly in mid-Atlantic and central US. And 3, even though the vaccine this year, which was formulated before the strain came out, has great protection against severe disease and hospitalization, there is a chance you might get sick, but I would say it's still worth getting the vaccine to protect you from that severe disease.
Of course it is.
You still recommend that people get the
shot
for
wait,
this?
just wait 1 second. Maybe this is my ignorance, but, that's why I'm here. To put my ignorance on display so people can write us and say, hey, you're ignorant. Here's where you're wrong. A flu vaccine protects you from one type of flu. It prepares your body to fight off one strain of flu.
Now it does. Wait till we have super vaxes.
How would a flu vaccine give you any protection from a flu that isn't that strain? Because that's what she says. She says even though it's not formulated for this flu, it still gives you some protection. What are there aspects of this flu vaccine that get picked off by your body because it's similar to other flus that you were vaccinated for? That's not how
that could be the case. There could be some similarities between the two. Just devil's advocate.
Could be. It could be. You should play devil's advocate more often. It could be. That's just not the understanding that I had of the flu vaccine. Anyway, continue.
Absolutely. UK's experience in particular showed that even with the H3N2, there's great protection with the vaccine. And it might not help you in the next couple of weeks because it takes a couple of weeks to sort of help build that immunity, but it's going to protect you because the flu cases are on their way up continuously.
And we always talk about how, yes, we have the holiday gatherings, but then everybody goes back to school, back to work, and there we go again with the cycle.
There we go again. Round 2, baby.
And again, I know she's probably talking about people who they don't get sick through this phase. They get the vaccine, and in a couple of weeks, when they would have gotten sick, maybe they're protected. Their body responds. They don't get as sick. But there's major conflation about, if I get the vaccine now, it takes 3 weeks for it to kick in, and I get sick while it's kicking in. The vaccine protected me in the future. Well, you got sick and that's probably what protected you. Also, I haven't heard anyone say it yet, but I can imagine the script of, even if you got sick with the current strain and you're better now, it's not too late. It's never too late. Anyway, let's MS Now. They're going to do a whole dedicated 20 seconds to the norovirus, and I lumped in their talk about, of course, they've got to talk about COVID. So norovirus and COVID.
There's also a spike in norovirus, which is wildly unpleasant. It's a stomach bug. What should people know about it?
Yeah, same thing. It's a season of new strains. There's a G217 strain for norovirus, and it's been up. Norovirus cases have been up 45% since November, and we're seeing a lot of wastewater positivity. The thing about norovirus is you have to wash your hands. Hand sanitizer won't get rid of it. A lot of times this GI bug, people are shedding it even before and after they've had the illness. So you want to make sure that if you're sharing food.
Wastewater positivity. That's part of their probably beacon tracking system. So I wonder if that's how they're getting these projections as to it's worse
the
when
cases.
We've seen.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Probably.
Sharing common spaces, good sanitation and hand washing is a way to protect yourself.
That's a very good point, that it's not the hand sanitizer, it is washing your hands. The CDC is also reporting COVID-19 infections are growing or likely growing in 31 states already. What are you seeing as far as these cases go and the severity?
Yeah, I'm actually on clinical service this week, and it is the flu season. We're starting to see, the cases go up as people are more indoors and there's more sharing. As you know, with all of these for flu, everybody over 6 months, the federal government now says for anybody who's 65 and over or has some sort of medical condition, COVID-19 vaccine. But many states, this for you to be aware, are making that COVID-19 vaccine available for everybody. So just talk to your physician to look at your eligibility.
So if you go to wastewaterscan.org and click dashboard in the top right corner, you'll see a list of things that they scan for. Measles is at the top of my list. It's low. SARS-CoV-2, high, mostly in the East Coast. RSV, high, mostly in the New England region and Southeast. Influenza A, whole nation, whole world. Influenza world. Influenza B, low. Human metapneumonia virus, low. EVD68,
oh God,
low, but high in the West Coast. Norovirus, high all over the country.
EVD68?
Yes.
That sounds like something you spray on your robot to keep it from rusting.
Yeah, maybe. Candida auris, AURIS. Hepatitis A and Candida auris, whatever that is low. Hepatitis A is low. Mpox on the list. Monkeypox.
That's right.
Not detected, but Mpox clade 2 is medium, low. Not detected everywhere east of
San Francisco.
Well, it's funny you say that. It's only the West that has any indication of Mpox clade 2.
There you go.
How did you know? And then a new one to the list. I check this every now and then. A new one to the list, West Nile virus.
Oh boy.
Not detected.
Well, the skeeters are dead. It's too cold for them now.
Are we getting the dashboard ready for next summer? West Nile summer 2026?
Well, you know who the big players are. You got swine flu on there?
No.
No? What about...
swine flu, I think, is a type of influenza A, though.
What about anthrax in the male? Is that on the list?
No, that one's not on the list. Actually, you do a little drop down here and a little toggle there. You get anthrax by male. One site where that's high, that's Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. What about exploding pages? All right, I'm done now.
It says, please see global map.
Yeah. Please check your pager.
Yeah. Positive.
Beep, beep.
Okay, let's move on to CBS, and we'll round this out with Good Morning America. This is a report by Katie Weiss from CBS.
Flu cases are on the rise as we head into the new year. 17 states, cities, and territories across the U.S. are reporting high to very high levels of the flu. That includes right here in New York City. So far, nearly 5 million cases have been reported nationwide, and at least 1,900 people have died. And that might be because fewer Americans are getting their flu shot. At this time last year, 13 million more flu vaccine doses had been administered. Katie Weiss has more on the warning from doctors.
It has become a refrain we've heard all fall. Get your flu shot. This winter, doctors are still saying it as the number of flu cases is up coast to coast.
My hope is that we're actually getting closer to the peak now.
The CDC reports that flu levels are the highest in New York, Colorado, and Louisiana.
It's just chaos all around.
At this Walgreens in New York City, pharmacist Ashley Almonte got her flu shot.
I've seen so many people get it that it's actually scaring me, so I just want to make sure I was safe.
Urgent care centers and hospitals in the city have faced a spike of flu patients even earlier than usual in the season. Some schools in Georgia and Kansas had so many students sick with the flu they had to close, prompting warnings from health officials concerned about spread from holiday travel.
We recognize you want to be together, but if you're ill, the best way to kind of keep your family safe is to say, maybe I shouldn't travel.
Ann Falkenhagen flew out of the New Orleans airport for a holiday vacation last week.
Suddenly, I start having this little scratch in my throat. So from being well to being very unwell within an hour.
She came back with the flu.
You tell me what that was like for you.
You just start aching, your bone, your skin hurt. The headache is 24/7. I don't wish this on anybody.
It's going
Not even Vladimir Putin? Oh, my God.
around. And here in Louisiana, the number of people hospitalized by the flu has more than doubled in less than a month. Doctors here tell me they're preparing for that number to keep rising. For CBS Saturday Morning, I'm Katie Weiss in New Orleans.
Woman contracts flu at airport. National news.
Yes, Nina
My throat
Volkswagen.
was scratching.
My skin, the bone, it all hurt.
All right, so let's hear a little bit of commentary from the folks over at CBS.
I got my flu shot.
I mean, it's bad out there, so I went and got my flu shot a couple of weeks ago. In fact, you can do it right here at CBS with the nurse, and so I did it here because it's just so worrisome.
Too easy.
And, we have a 3-year-old. We want to keep her safe. She got her flu shot early on, but even people who have gotten their flu shot are getting sick because I think this year's flu shot is good, but not good enough for this very.
I'll out myself. I didn't get my flu shot because I don't feel like I ever have time to feel crappy for a couple days. And I'm here.
You're here all the time.
But maybe I'll do it right here.
Right down the hallway.
All right. You can walk me there.
Oh, wow. They got a clinic in the building.
Yeah, yeah, just like in Minneapolis.
I got my flu shot 2 minutes ago.
Yes, I love that we're actually having representation from all political stripes on the national news now. You had a lady who didn't get her flu shot.
Anti-vaxxer, clearly.
Well, here we go. Actually, breaking news, CBS files for bankruptcy.
Really?
No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
Because of the advertisers.
Right.
Yes. Now, they mentioned the schools closing in Georgia because so many kids were sick. They didn't mention that just how hard the flu has been hitting Minneapolis because all of their schools seem to be shut down.
That's right. We don't even know where the kids went or if they were ever here.
This strain is called H1 Evaporate.
That's right. They just completely went away.
They were coughing and then boop, gone.
Wipe your ass with your handitis. That's I think.
Okay, let's round this out with everyone's favorite morning show. Good morning, Vaccine Nation.
This week's social story, that's where we post 3 stories on our social media, and you decide what we take a closer look at. Now, this week's choices: new flu strain, silver prices up, and post-holiday deals. And with 59% of the vote, you chose what to know about the new flu strain. And Dr. Alok Patel is here to answer the call. This is top of mind for many visiting family and friends,
59%
doctor. So
of them.
what do we need to know about this year's flu strain?
Well, happy Saturday, Ike. I will tell people that flu cases are rising in many parts of the country. I saw a lot of cases in the hospital. I'm still in my scrubs and glasses, like fresh from the scene.
It's that
so
bad.
Flu cases are likely related to this variant of H3N2 or influenza A, which scientists are calling subclade K. Now, this is a variant of the influenza strain that the vaccine was modeled after. It's got a few mutations on it, and this may be contributing to the really high level of flu cases we're seeing in New York State, throughout the Midwest, and in various other states, and cases are rising right now. We have at least 4.6 million cases with 50,000 hospitalizations, 2,000 deaths, all attributed to the flu. We would not put up with these numbers from any other cause. We should not put up with them when it comes to influenza.
Now, millions of Americans still on the move this week. What should they know as they hit the road and board planes?
Oh, great question. What people should know is we may see numbers start to uptick after all these gatherings, which is what we see after holidays such as Thanksgiving, which we may see after Christmas, Hanukkah, and New Year's. So as you go to travel, think about all those crowded groups of people. Make sure that you are washing your hands. If you're coughing, sneezing, or laughing, you are covering your mouth. If you have symptoms, unfortunately, consider staying home for the better of
Cover
the
your mouth
community,
when you
especially those
laugh?
who are high risk. If you must travel, wear a mask. And it is not too late, and it's very recommended to still get a flu shot. It does take about 2 weeks to take full effect, but you'll get protection immediately. Even with this variant, the flu shot is still estimated to prevent severe illnesses and hospitalization.
Well, at least I didn't go to the hospital. It hurts to sneeze, but I'm not in the ER. There you go.
Yes, well, I'm glad we're no longer putting up with these this number of deaths attributable to heart disease. He mentions that we wouldn't put up with this number of deaths with anything else, and you know, we finally had enough of heart disease, cancer, you know, all of the things caused by probably our food supply.
Right.
We're not putting up with those anymore.
It's just the common cold that's killing us all.
Yep. That's it. That's it. I'm kind of flabbergasted by cover your mouth when you laugh. I don't think I've heard that one.
It seems strangely like a small Japanese girl thing to do. You know what I mean? You know, maybe they were onto something the whole time.
Well, they do wear a lot of masks.
Yeah.
They're very flu conscious.
That is correct. That is correct. They knew something before it happened. You saw Asian people walking around with masks on all the time, and then COVID happened, and they were like, aha.
Told you so.
Our superior intelligence led us to believe that this was the proper action.
Yes, we live next to China. We know.
Have you heard of greasy floats? recycled oil for food? It's a very long callback, probably about 2 years ago. So
Yeah, maybe 100 episodes ago.
Probably.
Okay, well, Good Morning America is going to talk about symptoms, and that'll be the end of my flu segment.
Very well. That flew by.
Now, you just mentioned this. If we start to feel sick, what symptoms should we actually be on the lookout for?
I know people want to have a respiratory illness, you know, crystal ball, but it's really hard to tell the difference between various colds. People text me this.
What do you want for Christmas, little girl? I would like a respiratory illness crystal ball.
All the time saying, hey, doc, do I have coronavirus, influenza, or RSV? You might just have those early cold and flu symptoms such as coughing, sneezing, sore throat, maybe some muscle aches. But here's what's important. If you do suspect that you have influenza or COVID, there are antiviral treatment options to help reduce how long you have symptoms for and reduce the spread. So it's a good idea to go and swab and get tested because you might be able to take an antiviral such as Tamiflu for influenza as long as you start that quickly, usually within 48 hours of symptoms.
All right, Dr. Alok Patel, thank you very much, as always, for that useful information.
Oh God.
Now, if you noticed,
the phraseology that they use is just hysterical. Everyone
Yeah.
wants this. No, we don't.
yeah, and also, Tamiflu mentioned in at least 2 of the reports by name. Worth noticing.
Brought to you by Pfizer. Actually, don't know who
That
makes
is a
Tamiflu.
Pfizer product, isn't it?
I don't know. One of the big guys.
Yeah, nobody's making it in their shed out back.
All right.
They're making other things with Tamiflu, but
Meth. I was after the show last week. I made some hot toddies because I wasn't feeling very well, which is whiskey, honey, ginger, hot water. And
it's made by Roche. Tamiflu is made by the Swiss company Roche.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, the hot toddy was made by me and the fine folks at Four Roses. And it didn't work. I had quite a few of them, and I still didn't feel very good the next morning. So,
Did your symptoms change, or were they just persistent?
well, I felt better immediately afterwards, but the next morning it still felt like I was getting a cold. So I was like, oh, what the hell? I'll try eating an orange.
Oranges are good.
Yeah, vitamin C.
Oranges are better than drinking orange juice.
You got to get the fiber in there.
Right. You want the meat of the orange, and you don't want all of the sugar that comes along with orange juice.
Right. They should sell a complement to orange juice where it's just pulp. No juice, it's just the little skins from the orange vessels in there.
You could even sell it in packaging that looks like an orange, and then you open it up and it's just pulp.
Right. Right. It's everyone's favorite part is just the pulp. None of the juicy goodness. Just the sacks that they were in.
And make sure some of those white strings are in there.
That's right. Put a little piece of the peel in there. I really want to work for it. Well, that was good. That was a good flu report. I feel justified in my struggles over the past week.
Yeah, of course. So I alluded to this with a couple of jokes along the way. Have you watched the Nick Shirley 45-minute piece about the daycares and medical centers in home health centers in Minneapolis?
So I just want to make a statement. I haven't seen the full Nick Shirley thing, but everyone is talking like Nick Shirley came out of nowhere. I was talking about Nick Shirley months ago when he was countering the protesters in Portland, and going up to people.
Yes, and we actually independently brought Nick Shirley clips because he was talking about how the protesters had been trained to deny video interviews because they were providing so much fodder for their political opponents just by talking,
Yeah, and this week he, screams at a lady with a hijab on saying, "There are no kids here." And everyone's like, "This kid's great." It's like, yeah, but no, I hadn't seen it.
You know what it is? It's just someone looking. It's the captured Republican youth wing is looking for someone to pull the sword out of the stone that Charlie Kirk left.
Yes, it's fair. Fuentes is oftentimes put up there. Nick Shirley, I mean, if you're comparing the two, Fuentes runs circles around Nick Shirley. Nick Shirley's debatability is very poor, actually. It's just the fact that he's constantly talking to people that don't really want to talk to him.
Right.
So
he's a content creator.
Yes.
He a man on the street kind of guy.
Right. The dude crumbles under any sort of pressure, and you can see it too. Nick Fuentes loves that stuff.
Thrives on it.
He thrives for it, yeah. Oh, me mom died in the holly. Oh, jeez.
So I actually have a couple of clips about this Nick Shirley piece. I encourage everyone to go watch it. I'm going to pull it up and put it in the show notes while we go through these clips so you can find it there. if you would like to check it out. It's worth a watch. I mean, my overall takeaway was there are absolutely fraudsters in this. Probably a lot of them. Definitely a lot of them. But Shirley doesn't provide any real concrete evidence. It's all just anecdotal, confrontational evidence. And the people running these places don't do themselves any favors. But Shirley's not providing you with a compelling case. He's just showing you the facts on the ground, and anyone with half a brain can look at what he's seeing and decide, yeah, there are some people taking advantage of this.
Right. You want me to play his clip first?
Yeah, Nick Shirley, New York Post.
Perfect.
Hello, we'd like to ask where the money's going. What do you guys think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
A bombshell viral video purports to have cracked open a crucial part of the alleged Somali aid scheme in Minnesota, as federal investigators say as much as $9 billion could have been stolen in fraudulent schemes within the state. The aftermath has since garnered intense backlash aimed at state leadership, with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz desperately defending himself against ever-growing allegations. Here's everything you need to know. On December 26th, YouTuber Nick Shirley shared a 42-minute video of himself and a Minnesotan named David traveling around Minneapolis and visiting multiple child care and learning sites allegedly owned by Somali immigrants and receiving millions in taxpayer dollars.
$1.604 million in fiscal year 2025. This place right here.
However, the pair discovered that many were either shuttered entirely with blacked out windows, despite signage indicating they were open, or were helmed by staff who refused to participate in the video.
Can I speak to a manager?
Most of the sites, which claimed to be licensed for dozens of children each, had no children inside whatsoever.
Can you tell us why there are no children? Have you ever seen children at this child care center?
Doesn't know if she's ever seen a child here.
One infamous location called Quality Learning Center, which displays a misspelled sign reading Quality Leering Center, also features blacked out windows. The center is supposed to account for 99 children. However, a local resident of 8 years revealed he's never seen a child go in or out of the building.
Where are the children?
I don't see them. I've been here since 2017. I haven't seen anybody like
Never
that here.
seen a child here.
No.
Shirley even asked
just
multiple
looking for
sites
kids.
if he would be
I
able
know.
to have his child.
That's the entire thing. I've heard this guy with his weird voice, and I've seen the guy. He's like a larger gentleman and older. It's kind of a funny scene. Seeing him go, "Where are the children? You want to come downstairs for a popsicle?"
Only to be denied at the door.
Can I get paperwork or anything to submit my son, little Joey, to come in here to daycare?
Very convincing, Nick.
Would my son, little Joey, have friends to play with here? No.
Yeah, I just came to get an application with this camera crew and security.
Exactly. Yeah. Let me hold this DJI mic in front of your face. Talking to the fluffy part. 99 children is what they said on the application. I wonder if that's to avoid some sort of regulatory thing at 100.
No, there were some with over 100. I
Okay.
think it's probably just the limit, kind of like an occupancy limit. Like, if you get an occupancy limit from the fire department, that doesn't mean at all times you have that many people in your building.
Sure.
That means that's what you're approved to have.
Yeah, good.
So they kind of used this in a way of there should be 99 kids here right now. And it's a little dishonest.
I see that. Yeah, it makes sense. Good catch.
Okay, so now I've got a clip called Comments, Past and Present.
The mega viral video has since spread like wildfire on social media, garnering over 100 million views on X alone. On Fox News' The Big Weekend Show, Shirley joked that the alleged scheme was so obvious that a kindergartner could figure out there was fraud going on.
So there better be change because, like I said, we work way too hard to be paying taxes. We work way too hard to be not knowing where our money's going. And at the end of the day, the people in the government, they work for us. We don't work for them. And so it's their responsibility to hold these people accountable.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has since faced intense scrutiny over the alleged fraud. Republican Minnesota Representative Tom Emmer wrote on X, $4 million of hard-earned tax dollars going to an education center that can't even spell learning correctly. Care to explain this one, Tim Walz? While New York Representative Mike Lawler called for people to be arrested and prosecuted, as well as for Walz to be held accountable for the scandal. In a statement to Fox News, a spokesperson for Tim Walz said, "The governor has worked for years to crack down on fraud and asked the state legislature for more authority to take aggressive action. He has strengthened oversight, including launching investigations into these specific facilities, one of which was already closed." However, a resurfaced clip shows that Walz openly bragged about making it easier for people to get into the childcare business during the 2024 vice presidential debate.
As far as childcare on this, you have to take it at both the supply and the demand side. And we have to make it easier for folks to be able to get into that business and then to make sure that folks are able to pay for that. We were able to do it in Minnesota, and I'm still telling you this.
I'm friends with school shooters. Yeah.
This guy.
Turns out the Abdul Mohammed Jalani Center for Kids Who Can't Exist Good is not a real daycare.
Right. The Bashar al-Baghdadi Children's Fighting Chance Center.
Every kid deserves an AK-47.
Yeah, so basically what you're getting here, and this is what you have to expect to happen, which really Shirley's doing this. He probably is doing this for the right reasons. He probably is sincere about wanting to help stop fraud. But what you're doing is raising an alarm for the people committing this fraud, and you get the political reactions to it. Oh, sir, this video's gone viral about fraud in Minnesota. Well, tell the public I've been concerned about it forever. Now, what is it again? So you get these stupid political responses from people who have been in power, who could have known about this and could have done something about it, but chose not to because maybe not the most popular thing among the electorate, given how many of them there are involved in it. So, we're not going to do anything about that. It's not a problem, is it? People don't know about it? Good. Okay. Well, next. So now Nick Shirley rings the alarm bell, and this video goes viral, and you have a mad dash. You've got basically Kristi Noem and her department playing whack-a-mole again, just as issues come up, saying, yes, we're on it, we've been on it, look at what we're doing, look at this hype edit we made. And they're trying to scramble to catch some people actually doing this, because now that the video's gone viral, they're all, how do we fabricate documents or protect ourselves from any investigations as they happen? So I think the Department of Homeland Security really didn't have a choice here. They had to get some people on the ground and look into this immediately, which they did, or they weren't going to catch anyone.
Eric Pepe just dropped 2 links to articles, one from 2015, 4 Twin Cities daycare centers raided for fraud. That was in 2015. 2018, Minneapolis daycare raided as part of a massive fraud investigation.
Yeah, and then more recently, you had Feeding Our Future, which was a huge fraud ring in Minneapolis or Minnesota. So, the fruit is there for the picking, and it blows my mind why it takes some YouTuber publishing a 45-minute video for this administration to do something about it. And, we don't know that the only thing they've done about it is just make another hype edit. I mean, okay, they showed some guys with clipboards going and talking to these people, specifically the locations in the video, which tells me they weren't even looking at this. They didn't have investigations into which of these are legit or not. They just saw these locations. They heard the addresses in the Nick Shirley video and said, okay, send our guys there. Look, we're addressing a problem. Look at us.
Right.
Now, where's my makeup?
If they said that Hindus were raiding Christians' panty drawers in Guam, I'm sure we'd probably bomb Guam. And 50 million people tweeted about it. We'd bomb Guam, even though it's ours.
Yeah, more on that later.
So
It just wasn't Guam. It was Nigeria.
Yeah. I've got I got a lot of stuff on that.
Yeah, same. Okay, so let's continue. Let's get a little more context around this, and this is going to be about feeding our future and some of the things that have happened in Minneapolis in the past.
Context.
Rawls's state of Minnesota has been plagued by several high-profile fraud scandals in recent years, the largest being the Feeding Our Future scheme, in which 78 scammers, many of whom are from Somalia, have been prosecuted in the COVID-era food relief program scam. The ploy, according to prosecutors, involved funneling money from state social services coffers, including at the Department of Human Services and Department of Education, to the nonprofit Feeding Our Future and other organizations to ostensibly feed school children. Instead, the plot used the funds to splurge on the lavish lifestyles of the nonprofit's workers. According to Minnesota education officials, Feeding Our Future and its affiliated groups submitted over $500 million in claims, while federal authorities estimate that the extent of the rampant fraud could total $9 billion. The DOJ has already convicted at least 57 fraudsters in the scheme.
Man, this is like a complete blow up of Tim Walz's life. It's like the domino effect. First, his son pisses tears on national television. Then he loses the election, and now he's getting investigated for probably being the leader of this ring of fraud in Minnesota.
There's no evidence. I've heard a lot of people say this. There's no evidence that Tim Walz is being implicated or investigated.
Well, it happened under his watch. It doesn't look good for a leader for that to be the case.
What I'm afraid of, and the reason I'm skeptical of all of this happening, and it was easy for Nick Shirley to say, oh, well, look, they found $9 billion worth of fraud, and Freudian slip there, Minnesota has a ton of daycares, and we know that this has been a problem in the past. So let's go make this video going around to daycares. And sure enough, he hits a gold mine, in more ways than one. It's easy. And the fact that it's easy makes it more disappointing that there hasn't been more action by the administration on this kind of fraud. And the reason I'm so harsh on this is because it's almost like the administration doesn't really want to use their political power to go after the people who fund the opposition to them. And I don't know, it makes me uneasy. It doesn't make me uneasy. I just don't understand it. I don't understand why you wouldn't be, if you know that that fraud was present and it was using federal dollars in the past, as long ago as 2015, why wouldn't you at least put one or two people on looking into this that could do so much more than Nick Shirley going to an address and knocking and asking questions? Because
they want the meme. This is the evolution. It started under Barack Obama, the evolution of the social media president. He wants the big, impactful things that people are talking about. And now I'm sure Joe Rogan is going to talk about scandal.
He could have it all. He could have the most impactful actual effect.
Or he could have the most visual effect. The most, while it is top of mind, we're going to do something about it right now. Not, even though we knew about it, we're going to do it right now because everyone's talking about it. And look at us, we've solved this problem that you, stupid person, only learned about this week after watching Nick Shirley. That's the play.
Well, what I'm afraid of, and why the basic reason I'm so harsh on this is, and I kind of ventured off from that point. This kind of attention is how you botch your opportunity to take this kind of thing out.
Oh, you mean like you're tipping everyone off right now before you're actually doing anything about it?
Yeah. I mean, what do you think everyone else that's involved in this same kind of fraud everywhere other than Minneapolis is doing right now, feverishly?
Falsifying documents.
Yes.
CYA.
So anyway, well, actually, I kind of alluded to this earlier, but I have a clip about the DHS. I have a clip from the New York Post. I called Whack-A-Mole, but then I went and got a clip specifically from CBS about DHS in Minneapolis. So we'll just move on to the CBS report about the DHS in Minneapolis.
The Department of Homeland Security today conducted a series of inspections in Minneapolis as federal authorities say they are investigating, quote, rampant fraud. CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camila Montoya Galvez is following this for us and joins me now. So more than 30 inspections today across Minneapolis. What more do you know?
Well, I am told by two Department of Homeland Security officials, Lindsay, that Department of Defense and Homeland Security, agents have been deployed to Minneapolis to inspect and visit up to 30 sites just today to potentially identify cases of fraud. This is the branch of DHS Homeland Security investigations that investigates and prosecutes criminal activity that has a criminal, immigration, and international nexus. So human trafficking, for example, child exploitation, and yes, fraud. But under the second Trump administration, importantly, Lindsay, this branch of DHS has increasingly focused on immigration enforcement at ISO to find, identify, and ultimately deport people suspected of being in the country illegally. And I asked a senior DHS official if the effort today in Minneapolis is designed to combat fraud or to carry out the president's mass deportation agenda, and the official said a little of everything. So that underscores, to me at least, that this is a wide-ranging operation that could implicate the fraud allegations we're seeing in Minneapolis, but also the administration's efforts to ramp up immigration enforcement across the country.
Yeah, and you know what happens when you go and you're wearing your DHS shirt and your body armor and you knock on a door with your clipboard and you're about to do something because Nick Shirley ruined your plans for the next week? When someone says, "Where's your warrant?" because they've all been called by attorneys and told, "Don't let anyone into your building without a warrant," you say, "Well, I guess we're going to the next place."
Or you say right here, because I'm playing 5D chess, MFer.
Doubtful.
Maybe.
Now, put your thinking cap on for a second.
Okay.
We're listening to CBS, the mainstream media. What is their priority angle on this story?
People that are being falsely accused or
Aha.
Yeah. Is that it?
Yes. Yes. Any targeting?
We have heard from President Trump before talking about the Somali American population there in Minneapolis, and has one of the largest Somali communities in the U.S. That city does. Do we know if they're being targeted here?
It's a critical question. We should underscore that ICE had undertaken and launched a separate operation in November targeting people in the Minneapolis region who have pending deportation orders, some of them of Somali descent. That operation is still ongoing, and ICE officials are still arresting some individuals who, again, have been ordered deported by a judge under that effort. But I should underscore that the Homeland Security agents who are conducting the inspections today also have legal immigration authority to arrest and identify people who are in the country illegally. It's important to note also that many of the Somali immigrants in this region of the country do have legal status, so they cannot be arrested and deported unless that legal status is revoked. The president has talked about ending the TPS, or Temporary Protected Status program, for Somalia, but that affects a relatively small number of people. Administration officials, Lindsay, have also talked about the idea of denaturalizing some of the Somali immigrants who are American citizens and who are implicated in any fraud allegations. And that is a possibility, but that effort typically involves a long and complicated process in federal court.
Okay, Camila Montoya Galvez, thank you.
Yeah. So, you know, you got one side saying, well, what about the fraud? And you got the other side saying, well, what about the oppressed people? And I find myself standing here saying, why is everyone involved completely incompetent?
It's the world we live in.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Well, you made an appeal to Guam earlier, and it was a stand-in for a very good. It was a stand-in for something that actually happened in Nigeria, and I think I'm going to rip us away to Nigeria real quick to talk about that because it's kind of old at this point. It happened on Christmas Day.
Yep.
So I've got a few clips about it. I know you said you had some things. If you want to take your segment, and then if I've got anything to add after the fact, I'll add it. That'll be fine with me.
Okay.
Explain your analogy first.
So I said something about if Hindus were panty raiding Christians in Guam, we'd bomb Guam. And that is kind of what happened in Nigeria, where there's been this claim that we've long talked about being potentially false, but basically Muslims attacking...
Misleading at best,
yes.
Exaggerated at best.
Exactly. Muslims attacking Christians in Nigeria, which culminated in Trump striking northwestern Nigeria on Christmas Day with airstrikes, attacking ISIS locations, allegedly ISIS locations. So I have a CNN rundown here, and then I'll let you get into yours because mine are mostly memes from CNN about all the different things that Trump is because of these strikes. But here's the rundown on what happened.
Breaking news this morning, we are learning new details about the deadly strike operation that President Trump says he ordered on Islamic State terrorists in Nigeria. Yesterday evening, the U.S. military reports multiple ISIS terrorists were killed in the attack, which the president first announced on social media. This comes after the president for months has warned that the United States could take military action in the African nation, claiming that ISIS had been targeting Christians in the region. The president writing in part this on social media about it: I have previously warned that these terrorists, that if they did not stop the slaughtering of Christians, there would be hell to pay. And tonight, he goes on to say, the Department of War executed numerous perfect strikes, as only the United States is capable of doing. Now, Nigeria confirmed the two countries coordinated in this effort, in this strike. CNN's Nada Bashir tracking this one for us. Nada, what is the very latest that you're picking up?
Well, we're still not getting full details just yet from U.S. officials with regards to the details surrounding this strike. What we do know is the U.S. Africa Command has said that multiple Islamic State targets and militants were killed overnight in these deadly strikes. We've heard, as you mentioned, from the U.S. president himself addressing this military action in social media, saying and describing this as a powerful and deadly strike against Islamic State terrorists. And this strike took place in the northern Sokoto region of Nigeria, just bordering Niger. Now, at this stage, again, no clear details with regards to the impact. What we do know...
Oh, yeah.
Let me ask you to look again at a map.
She said bordering Niger.
...is that this was carried out in coordination with the Nigerian government. We've heard from a Nigerian presidential spokesperson and advisor saying that both the U.S. and Nigeria are on the same page when it comes to tackling these security concerns. And of course, what we've been hearing from the White House for several weeks now and from the U.S. president himself is the ramping up of concern around the protection of Nigeria's Christian community against extremist attacks. And it's important to note and underscore that, of course, Nigeria Nigeria does have a deep-rooted history of security troubles when it comes to Islamist extremist groups. But these attacks that we have seen in the past have targeted both Nigeria's Christian and Muslim communities, two of the largest religious communities in the country. So this is certainly a historic concern within the country, but we are now seeing very clearly that first-hand action by the US military in Nigeria, according to officials, in coordination with the Nigerian government.
There you have it, the rundown. We are attacking northwestern Nigeria, which just so happens to be on the border with Niger, of course, one of the Sahel region juntas, which is, I guess, benefited or not benefited, but has experienced the Wagner group in its own country, taking opportunities of conflict.
Yeah, and, make no mistake, if an army invaded Nigeria from the north that was too large and too forceful for airstrikes, we would put boots on the ground for Nigeria. I can't overstate how important Lagos is for our African strategy.
Yeah, it's where a lot of materials moves out of Africa.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, this is so, and I'm not discounting any Christians that are killed in Nigeria. I'm sure that happens, and it may have even increased in the last, I don't know, few months, year, whatever time period you want to say. I don't doubt that. But two things can be true at once. The increase in Christian deaths can be true, and the fact that that is a convenient cover for our protecting strategic assets in Nigeria can also be true.
Strategic assets, strategic locations, strategic minerals, all of those are the case. But what's really interesting, what I've noticed with mainstream media, is they can't really speculate on that. They never talk about, you'll see it in Venezuela now. And we'll talk about Venezuela a little bit later, but with Venezuela, Trump has come out and stated regime change is on the table. And I think people are putting two and two together and saying, oh, it really wasn't about the drug boats. It's more about knocking out Nicolas Maduro and his economy. And that clicked with them when they started seizing oil tankers. And I think we're seeing a similar play here in Nigeria. But because the mainstream media can't make that speculative jump until Trump says something like, this is about countering China and Russia's influence in Nigeria, despite that being the underlying fact that's obvious to people like us, the people on the offensive, they can't say it. So what's funny is how it gets translated then through the talking heads. And I have this clip on CNN, and it's kind of about the policy vision.
When we look at Eugene, when we look at the way that this is playing out, well, we're also looking at new movement off the coast of Venezuela. What does this tell you about the focus moving forward when it comes to not just where the U.S. is leaning in internationally, but what it could mean in terms of support domestically when there are these questions continually raised about Congress and even notifications?
Well, that is one of the main questions many lawmakers have, including some on the right. There seems to not be some consistency in terms of vision. If there is a foreign policy agenda, which obviously there is, it hasn't been communicated in a way that it's clearly understood and supported with even some of the people in the president's base. I've talked to voters, and they're very concerned sometimes that they don't know what the next move is going to be from this president in terms of global conflicts and international affairs, and how inconsistent it seems to be with what he campaigned on. Part of that is because we know that the president's support is actually more ideologically diverse than I think a lot of people outside of his camp realize. And so there are some issues that are of concern and major priorities for one segment, such as perhaps Christian conservatives, and not others, which might be some of the individuals who want to see America pull back from some of these types of interactions. And so I think what will be really interesting moving forward when the new year begins is seeing what is laid out, what type of vision is communicated, and how the president is able to get different sects within his tribe on the same page.
So there's no vision, which is just like an obtuse way of hating on Trump and also not doing your job to analyze what's actually going on, I think. But I think what might be helpful in this discussion, and let me know if you want to fill in anything so far on this.
Yeah, I want to fill in that it's hilarious to use the terminology sex and tribes when you're talking about the Republican Party in regards to a strike on Nigeria.
Yes, that is pretty funny. But the one-wheeling millennial, Hannah, sorry, had sent us this image, this map, that was kind of probably ripped from X. I'm not exactly sure. But it does kind of talk a little bit about the sweet spot policy. So this strike happened on Nigeria. I don't think you or I were surprised. I was surprised that it was actually, a physical strike this soon. It just kind of happened out of the blue, but I knew something was going on. We've been talking about it. Trump brought it up a couple months ago to get it into the American psyche that this was happening, and that's the cover.
A man named Bill Meha.
Yeah, Bill Meha. So Bill Maher was even talking about it too, and brought it up into the world.
He's the one that introduced it.
Right, apparently. He popularized it, at least. So there's this interesting map, and it's kind of the actual, I guess, foreign policy of the Trump administration, where we've talked about Trump has set Marco Rubio to conquer South America. That's, little Cuban boy, his dream is to rule over South America. That was established. We got it. This was in talks of last week. We kind of mentioned Greenland and how that had been re-kicked off, this idea that we were going to establish some ground in Greenland or take over Greenland. And it comes down to the risk board. And this picture that I'm referring to, and I've dropped in the chat, and I'm going to describe it too, really shows kind of a global map, and it breaks it out quite a bit in various zones. And what's funny is Europe is labeled as the war zone, where there's nearly constant conflict as regional powers battle for control. And it's funny because in the game of Risk, it's very hard to control Europe because of that region, because of all the different areas you can be attacked from. And it shows North America and South America kind of in this sweet spot, the Western Hemisphere as being the absolute control spot. Meanwhile, Africa, where Nigeria is located, is the FUBAR zone, which is resources are fought over by leading powers of the war zone. And so that's what we're kind of seeing, is America countering China and Russia's influence in Africa. However, Trump needs a good, mission statement or reason as to why we're actually going into Nigeria. And it's the Christians are being attacked. So he doesn't lose the support of his, what do we call those people? The Baptists or what's the group of
Protestants?
The Protestants. What are the group of people that never vote in elections, really, unless they get all churned up? I don't think it's Protestants is what I'm looking for, but like the Southern Baptists maybe, or there's a term for it. I don't remember.
I'm not sure.
Anyway, he gets this noble mission now of we're protecting Christians in Nigeria. Meanwhile, we can still do these things that we said we weren't going to do by meddling with the Eastern powers of Russia and China. I think that's what's going on in Nigeria. Resource control.
Okay, I'm on board with you. I'm right there with you. I actually have some recent
evangelicals.
Analysis.
Thank you, Eric PP.
Evangelicals. Yes. Okay.
Hold on. Let me refresh you. You just got crispy for a minute. And I figured out I can fix it on my end. Hello?
Hey.
Yep.
So yeah, evangelicals. I get what you're saying. And this is pretty obvious to us. I think anyone listening to the show would see this from our perspective and not be surprised by us striking Nigeria. So yeah, I think this is just basically more of the kind of whack-a-mole strategy, the whack-a-mole administration. Nigeria is under threat. We just had an attempted coup in Benin next door. We need protection, and we need a show of force to show that Nigeria is not up for grabs. So we send a Reaper over and bomb some Hilux trucks.
Now, yeah, so that was my first point. I've heard a couple of people tie this to also the silver trade, where evidently there are some silver mines in Nigeria. Have you heard that?
Well, that they're actually silver is a byproduct of other mining. So it would be another kind of mine. I'm sure there is silver extracted in Nigeria. The silver thing is interesting, and basically the takeaway there, well, the background is that the silver prices spiked over the weekend.
Yep.
And they were different prices in China versus the U.S., and China put export controls on silver. And the only reason in a global market there would be price differences is because one group was unwilling to sell their commodity, their silver in this case. And the fact that J.P. Morgan didn't sell a ton of silver to China to arbitrage that price difference because the price was higher in China is because it's basically indicative that there's a silver shortage.
Okay.
And so silver could play into this. I don't think it's that big of I don't think it's in that much of short supply that we would be bombing Nigeria or, Al-Shabaab, ISIS, ISIL, whatever you want to call them, over some silver mines. Maybe I'm wrong. I just think it's Nigeria saying, "Hey, we're really under threat here. You say what you need to say. Tell Bill Maher to go out and break up the ground for you, but we need some help here." And we came in and we bombed some people who live in the sandy places, and it'll be okay for a little while. And then when they flare back up, we'll do it again, probably.
Is that how you see it playing out? We just continue to strike when needed?
Yeah. I don't see Al-Shabaab or who... I don't see the Sahel region being able to muster the willpower to sustain a war in Nigeria, nor do I see the tribal terrorists being able to present too much of a real threat to the state of Nigeria. I think this was just basically, you remember how we used to talk about Israel's policy of mowing the grass with Hamas?
Yeah. You think that's what they're doing?
I think that's what we did in Nigeria.
Interesting.
It was a win-win. We got to kill some terrorists, got to test out some hardware, get some flight hours for some of our VR guys back at the base. And Nigeria gets to feel comfortable, and Trump gets to say, "I'm a great defender of Christians." Nobody loses.
Except for the people that were blown up in the jungle.
Desert.
Yep, the desert. I guess it is kind of deserty in that quadrant of Nigeria. A lot of interesting stuff happening out in Africa. I don't know if we want to keep sort of this American theme going right now, or if we want to stay in Africa. It's up to you.
Take it where you want it.
So, two things out of Africa that I thought were kind of interesting. One being, and this is less interesting than the other one, but I'll tease you a little bit. One being the Guinea presidential election. Now, again, if you're not...
Let me ask you to look again at a map.
So get your map out. The Guinea is located just west of Nigeria. It's west. It's right below the Sahel region and west of Nigeria. So it is essentially the Horn of West Africa, which is not how anyone would ever describe it. But it is the West African coastline a little bit. And they recently had a presidential election, and they had a coup d'etat in 2021 with a promise to return to democracy. And I'll let this clip explain it. It's from Reuters.
Surrounded by armed troops and a cheering crowd, Guinea's Mamadi Doumbouya arrived at the polling station on Sunday to cast his vote. The West African nation held a presidential election widely expected to hand the former Special Forces commander a 7-year mandate and complete the nation's transition back to civilian rule. Provisional results are expected in 2 to 3 days. Doumbouya, thought to be in his early 40s, seized power in a 2021 coup, overthrowing then-President Alpha Condé.
Car nous allons réécrire une constitution ensemble, cette fois-ci.
He vowed not to run for office when he took power, and a transition charter adopted after the coup barred junta members from contesting elections. But in September, Guineans overwhelmingly backed a new constitution removing that stipulation. 8 other candidates were in the running, but with no strong challenger in sight, some voters described the election as a foregone conclusion. Doumbouya has claimed credit for pushing forward Guinea's massive iron ore project and has turned the country toward resource nationalism. These moves have boosted his popularity, as has his relative youth in a country where the median age is about 19. Days before the election, one voter in Guinea's capital, Conakry, was upbeat.
The Doumbouya I see today is capable of selecting and giving power to someone he trusts. Someone who can manage the country.
Good luck. Good luck with that.
And I really appreciate the way the campaign is going peacefully.
Spoken like a true 19-year-old.
Society groups accuse Doumbouya's government of banning protests, curbing press freedom, and restricting opposition activity. The government did not respond to a request for comment.
Yeah, this military guy that overthrew the government in 2021 said he wouldn't run for president, and is now running for president. While barring a lot of opposition from running and going to get a 7-year mandate. I'm sure he's going to give up power in the future. But what's interesting about Doumbouya is that he opened up you heard the iron ore industry in the country, and he opened it up to outside investment. And the only country that is outside investing in Guinea is China. So that is, again, part of the Sahel region just south. Probably a smart move on his behalf of not ganging up with the West because it is so close to the Sahel region. So now China's got a 7-year
specifically foothold. Mali.
Yeah. It's right below Mali, shares a border with Mali, and then all these other small nations that are in the region. So that's close to Nigeria. That one was the less interesting clip. The more interesting clip out of Africa, I think, comes with Israel's recognition of the place that we were talking about last year of Somaliland. Or last week. You had brought
I mentioned Jubaland because that was the place where the guy was running to be president. And president
Somaliland.
threw me off. Yeah, president threw me off, and I was thinking Somaliland. Jubaland is in Somalia South. So my theory, shaky as it was at the time, probably not true about the U.S. Administrative state kind of funneling this money to this guy. Even though it could still be true, I'm not as confident in it as I was when it came to me last week. But yeah, that was a bit of a mistake on my part last week. But yes, Somaliland is in the news and in a pretty big way.
I think so too. I've got a clip from France 24 to explain it, and it's one of those funny things where you if you read the headline, you're like, oh, whatever. But if you actually think about it, and you again,
let me ask you to look again at a map.
Things start to make a little bit more sense. So here is this clip about Somaliland.
In this stadium in the city of Hargeisa, Somaliland's de facto capital in northern Somalia, people gathered in their thousands to celebrate the official recognition of the state of Somaliland by the State of Israel. While some celebrated, others protested as the news quickly divided the country. That same evening in the capital Mogadishu, Somalians voiced their anger.
We came to this rally in response to the offence committed by Israel against the sovereignty of our country.
We are gathered here because we oppose Israel's actions against our country, which aim to divide us. We say to Israel that you have broken international laws as well as diplomatic codes.
Somalia's president was quick to condemn the move in parliament, saying that Benjamin Netanyahu's recognition of the territory was an act of illegal aggression.
We tell the world the infringement committed by Netanyahu and his attempt to divide the Federal Republic of Somalia endangers the peace and tranquility of the world and the region.
A number of countries across the globe have since voiced their opposition as well. The European Union called for respect of Somalia's unity. Somaliland declared its independence from Somalia in 1991. The self-proclaimed republic is strategically placed on the Gulf of Aden. It has its own money, passports, and army. Until Israel's announcement, it had failed to be recognized by any UN member states.
So they've been
right next to Djibouti.
Right under Djibouti, which of course is under Jatidis, which is still funny. Elise quoted that to me this past week. Yeah, so it's right there. So we've already speculated that Djibouti, and correctly, before we knew the history.
Somaliland is going to change its name to Janicaps.
Janicaps. But we I like that. We speculated that Djibouti was kind of carved out for the purpose that it serves today, which is being a military base for the United States to control the flow of goods through the Red Sea. Up
the Bab el-Mandeb Strait.
That's right there. Somaliland, as it sits today, if carved out, would be right along that coast as well, right next to Djibouti. Israel, interestingly, is the one that acknowledged it and said, oh, yes, you are a sovereign land. And I think it's because Israel wants to have a presence in the region. Of course, Somalia, on the Gulf of Aden, also is situated directly across from Yemen. Yemen, of course, famous for the Houthis, which are funded by who? Iran. You know when they...
Okay. Do you have some of the stuff going on in Yemen right now?
I've got some of the stuff in Yemen. I got some of the stuff in Iran. This is one of those weeks where decades happened. I'm
yes,
convinced.
I believe so too, and I think we haven't seen the end of it, even though there appears to be a resolution in Yemen this evening. I think there's still a lot up in the air.
So
but I'll let you do your presentation, and I'll just fill in with what I've got as we go.
So what's interesting is the recognition of Somaliland was condemned by 21 different African and Arab nation states. One of the people that condemned it was Saudi Arabia. One of the countries that did not condemn the recognition of Somaliland,
one of the only countries,
was the United Arab Emirates, the UAE. And so while this is going on one side of the Gulf of Aden, on the other side of the Gulf of Aden in Yemen, we have this report, and this report comes from who? France 24 again, and this has to do with the UAE and Saudi Arabia in Yemen.
Saudi Arabia has declared a United Arab Emirates-backed separatist advance in Yemen as a threat to Riyadh's national security as the conflict boiled over into an open dispute between the Gulf powers. The statement from the Foreign Ministry comes after the Saudi-led coalition fighting in Yemen said it struck a UAE weapons shipment destined for the separatists. The UAE-backed Southern Transitional Council forces have swept through the south of Yemen this month, taking most of resource-rich Hadramaut province and swathes of neighboring Mahra. John Gambrell from the Associated Press explains.
Saudi Arabia has bombed a port city in Yemen, but this time they're not targeting the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels. They say instead they targeted a weapons and armored vehicle shipment sent from the United Arab Emirates. This underlines just the tensions that have been growing in the anti-Houthi coalition over the last several days. The kingdom had launched airstrikes last week on the Southern Transitional Council. This is a group of separatists in southern Yemen who have sought to make their own separate country in that region. The STC, as it's known, has been backed by the United Arab Emirates in their fight against the Houthis, and the Emiratis have been arming them. But last week, we did see Saudi Arabia launch an airstrike trying to warn the STC off from 2 new governorates it's taken in Yemen. Those fighters remained in those governorates, and now we're seeing the Saudis launch this airstrike. It's a remarkable change for these two neighboring countries on the Arabian Peninsula. Both are in the OPEC oil cartel and long have considered each other as brothers, largely with the same political views. But in Yemen, the differences have been starting to grow wider and wider, particularly as the STC has grown more demanding in making its own country in Yemen. Analysts warn that separating Yemen into a North Yemen and a South Yemen, as it had been for about 30 years before unification in the early 1990s, could spell more trouble for the country, but the secessionists say that that's what's needed in order to solidify their power and fight against the Houthis. These Saudi airstrikes show, though, that the tensions there are far from over, and it'll be interesting to see how both the Emiratis and the fighters on the ground react.
So just to break that down a little bit, the Houthis are in Yemen. They're funded by Iran, famously. Everyone knows that. And then there's the separatists that are sort of fighting the Houthis, but also fighting for a separate Yemen state. So you heard about the North and the South Yemen. So the Houthis are located in southern Yemen, and the separatists are located in northern Yemen, and they're fighting each other. The United Arab Emirates has been funding the separatists that are fighting the Houthis, and Saudi Arabia bombed a weapons package directed for the separatists who are fighting the Houthis. So it could be viewed as a support almost for the Houthis in Yemen, indirectly.
No. I disagree. This is a split within a split. So the Saudi Arabia is backing the Yemeni Presidential Council, whose goal is to govern all of Yemen. UAE has been backing the Southern Transitional Council, or STC, who wants the southern region to be its own autonomous region, its own nation. They both were fighting the Houthis. But the Southern Transitional Council just took a bunch of territory that was kind of up for grabs and had itself in a leveraged position in the south to kind of execute their plan of taking and controlling the south against the wishes of the Yemeni Presidential Council. And Saudi Arabia said, no, you're not going to do this. You can't govern the south. Our guys, the Yemeni Presidential Council, are going to govern the whole state. You can't just govern the south. And that's where the split happened. And Saudi Arabia bombed a weapon shipment from the UAE, not in support of the Houthis.
Not in support of the Houthis. I'm saying it could be viewed as such, but I understand what you're saying. Effectively, Saudi Arabia is acting as if it is the head honcho of the region and saying no. And the UAE backed off too.
Yes, they announced that they will comply with the Saudi demand that they withdraw their forces within 24 hours.
So it's as if the Saudi Arabia is acting as if it's the United States, and it's telling pretty much Mexico or Yemen or the people that are trying to influence Yemen, no, we are the head guys here. So it's interesting because these two conflict areas are happening right along this coastline, and it looks like Israel is sort of surrounding the Saudi Arabian peninsula. Of course, Israel is to the north of Saudi Arabia.
Well, you know what it is? It's the Red Sea Basin.
Right.
It's everything around the Red Sea, which also brings in the ties that UAE has in funding the Rapid Support Forces, or the RSF, in Sudan.
Correct. And if you recall earlier, too, when we were talking about Ethiopia played around with acknowledging Somaliland if they would be able to get access to that sea, to that area.
Right.
So everyone is fighting for control over that choke point that is the Bab al-Mandeb Strait.
Yes.
So it's fascinating because that's a really huge flashpoint. And then on top of all of this, on the other side of the Saudi peninsula, there's an entirely different thing that's going on too, although I'm pretty sure it is connected in this large grand strategy that we've been talking about. And I'm talking about Iran here.
Yeah.
So I see you have more clips than I do.
On Iran?
Yeah.
Well, before we go to Iran, I want to read you something. This is from Channel News Asia, and this is the kind of sourcing that you get into when you're dealing with things that have just come out. And this will be tempered and edited when it gets published by American outlets and European outlets. But if you can find these as this news is breaking out of the Middle East, they're very revealing. And I'm going to read for you here. The UAE said it had been surprised by the airstrike, which is the Saudis bombing the port, which was literally a shipment of Hiluxes, and that the shipments in question did not contain weapons and were destined for the Emirati forces. But it said it sought a solution, quote, that prevents escalation based on reliable facts and existing coordination. In a televised speech, Alimi, who is, let's see, where does it say who he is? Hold on one second. I had it here. Rashad al-Alimi, head of Yemen's Saudi-backed presidential council. So this is a Saudi spokesperson active in Yemen. In a televised speech, Alimi said it had been, quote, definitely confirmed that the United Arab Emirates pressured and directed the STC to undermine and rebel against the authority of the state through military escalation. So this is not over. Unless the UAE completely rolls over and says, okay, you got us. The representative for the Saudi forces in Yemen is saying quite plainly that the UAE instructed the Southern Transitional Council forces to take this military action that caused Saudi Arabia to bomb Yemen. And that's not the kind of thing you just walk away from after you've started that plan if you're UAE. Now, the
I mean, they've been doing. The UAE has been actively invested in the Southern Transitional Council since 2019.
But they haven't been at odds with the Yemeni presidential group until very recently.
So, we kind of talked about the U.S. backing out of the Middle East, and maybe Israel or Saudi Arabia then becomes the new U.S., right? The governor and the dictator of that region. What if we're backing out? We're focused clearly on the Western Hemisphere, as we've seen with our kind of economic plays lately. The U.S. is backing out of that, and all of these Arab countries, the UAE, through the STC, Saudi Arabia, and also Israel now in Somaliland, are all fighting to be the gatekeepers and the controllers of the Red Sea Pass and the Bab al-Mandeb Strait.
Okay, so here's an idea for you. In this article, UAE spokespeople say after the statement is made that the UAE is pulling out their remaining forces, the UAE spokespeople say that they basically only had military there in an advisory role. How very American of them. So what they're doing is just pulling out the official UAE military advisors. The people that make up the Southern Transitional Council are still going to be there. And I think they've still got the green light to try to enact this plan of dominating southern Yemen. And what this is going to do is draw Saudi Arabia into a conflict in Yemen. Saudi Arabia is too deep in Yemen. Yemen is too important to Saudi Arabia for them to turn away from. So who does it benefit to have Saudi Arabia tied up in their own backyard?
Well, that is interesting. The UAE, yeah. What point are you making here?
It benefits Iran.
Okay, because they're on the other side of the peninsula, and thus all the attention is on the western side. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is if Saudi Arabia is tied up in Yemen, and they're concerned with defeating this Southern Transitional Council because by all accounts, they're rapidly taking ground and resources in the South. And if Saudi Arabia has to come in with their military and try to regain control of Yemen away from this STC group, that the UAE could say, okay, we're done with them, but they're your problem. If Saudi Arabia is tied up in their backyard and Iran decides to attack, I don't know, Israel, and the U.S. says, hey, Saudi Arabia, this is your chance. Get your glove, kid. You're in the game. Saudi Arabia might very well have to say, sorry, but we're in Yemen.
I guess I don't have as much belief that Iran is that big of a threat to anyone anymore.
Okay, well then let's talk about Iran.
Okay.
Because we both have material there. You are biased by your sources on the ground that that the state is in utter disrepair and on the verge of complete collapse.
I just know that people that have lived there have said things feel much different now, and the water crisis is an issue. And you know, really, what has happened recently is a currency issue, and so these protests have kicked off, and that's kind of what we're beating around the bush talking about.
Yes, let's play some clips.
Okay.
You said you wanted my clips.
Yep.
So let's do France 24, third day of protests.
Next, let's take you to the situation in Iran, where demonstrations over the cost of living have stretched into a third day. On Sunday and Monday, it was shopkeepers who led the protests, triggered by a drop in the value of the rial and inflation. Today, students have joined those in the streets, with unrest reported at universities in Tehran and in the central city of Isfahan. Well, Philip Turl is our foreign editor today, and he's been looking into this story. Philip, just tell us, first of all, how bad the situation is at the moment for shopkeepers.
It's bad, Nadia. The bottom line is that the fall in the value of the rial has made life very difficult. And to sum it up, there's a video that's gone viral that was filmed on a mobile phone that has been seen by thousands across Iran and brought more people out into the street, where you see a young shopkeeper in the street, you can see the video here, who is sitting there opposite the police who've been sent out to put down the protests, obviously with nothing left to lose because he can't make ends meet, can't keep his business running, and he's sitting in the middle of the street.
How do we know this? How do we know this is the case?
What?
That he's got nothing to lose, he can't make ends meet. This is literally a person kneeling on the street, completely clad in black. They're saying it's a shopkeeper. They're saying it's someone who has nothing to lose, can't make ends meet. We know none of this.
Narrative.
Yes, that's what I'm getting at. This is a very carefully constructed narrative about what's happening in Iran.
Have we ever been told the truth about Iran?
No.
It wasn't until I watched a YouTube video of a guy that visits Iran, an American guy, that it was like, oh, wow, it's actually kind of Western.
Obviously with nothing left to lose because he can't make ends meet, can't keep his business running, and he's sitting in the middle of the street. We don't know what's happened to him afterwards. But I think a lot of sympathizers in Iran have said, look, this situation can't go on, and we're going to turn out to support him, which is something, of course, that is a total anathema to the regime in Iran, which has regularly put down protests in the past. There have been calls by the Iranian regime for the demands of the protesters to be listened to, notably from the president, Masoud Pezeshkian, and the parliamentary speaker, Mohammed Ghalibaf. But no comment so far from the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei.
The Ayatollah Khamenei, or Khamenei, if you're British, I suppose. So that's what I see as the marked difference right here is the protesters this time. So there's been protests that happen in Iran, and they're usually put down by the guard, the Republic Guard. This time around, the government is coming out and saying, we hear you. We want to work with you and fix it. That does not sound like a very strong position. Coming from a strong position like we usually hear out of Iran. That sounds like an Iran that's weakened. And the way that we know that this guy has come out and said, we hear you and we support you, is by tweeting out on X.
Well, the strategic or tactical thing, the tactical reason why you would take a softening approach when you're not known for a softening approach is to flush out agitators. You appear weak, you make your enemies make their move, and then you crack down. And if I'm accurate in that assessment of what's happening here, because I noticed this as well, and you're absolutely right to notice it. But if I'm correct in this, it'll be about a week, if not less, and there will be reports about people being killed in the streets of Iran.
Should we put it in the prediction book?
Put it in the book.
All right.
Put it in the book.
Prediction.
But also, at the same time, what's working against Iran and the supreme leader in this is the culmination, in my mind, of all of the dry runs that have happened in most of the countries that we saw these protests happening over the summer. This is all of the lessons learned in those protests being implemented in Iran today.
Oh, I mean, absolutely, it's a Gen Z protest. My source, if you will, told my relative. It's not really that big of a secret. I think I've mentioned it before. My sister-in-law's dad basically says the kids in Iran walk around like they're on the streets of LA. I think he just means more generally Western cities, because I assure you they don't look like the kids walking around the streets of LA, because those kids are gay. So there's a little bit of the Gen Z aspect of it, but I think as well that this was the catalyst. It was like, it's almost like George Floyd, right, was the spark that the movement needed. The movement was there and it was ready and it was waiting for that moment. And I think that's the exact same thing that's happening in Iran right now. It was waiting for a reason. And now you have people chanting death to Khomeini, Ayatollah Khomeini, in the streets of Iran. Video footage of that happening.
Okay. Was that the end of that clip?
Yep.
All right. Let's do, well, of course, France 24's got to tell us about the reasons for this protest.
Oh, here we go.
Now, what is this all about? Well, you mentioned a couple of points in your introduction. The first one is the fall in the value of the rial, the currency of Iran, which has gone spiraling downwards compared to the US dollar. Here are a few facts for you. Back in July 2015, it was 32,000 rial to $1. Today, it's 1.42 million rial to $1 US dollar, which basically means for each dollar's worth of goods that's bought into the country, there's been this massive increase in the cost in rial, which means people just can't afford to buy anything. They can't even afford a phone cover in plastic, which you or I will be able to buy for next to nothing here in Paris. So that's why these shopkeepers say we can't sell any goods. We're seeing our livelihood go down the drain. People can't afford to buy what they need to survive, and the situation is getting out of control. So that's the first point. And the second point, if that wasn't bad enough, is that inflation is also high in Iran, 42.2% overall, 72% for food and going up, and the same for medical items at 50%, according to the Iranian State Statistics Center, which all in all, according to economists, is approaching hyperinflation in Iran. So all of these factors brought together have meant that people are fed up with the situation. They want the regime to do something about it. They say officials have offered no support so far, and they also fear that there could be tax increases in March at the start of the Iranian New Year, because the fall of oil revenue is very important, and so the only way out of this is for the regime to put up taxes, which of course they say they won't be able to pay. So that's why we've seen this spread of protests around the country over the last couple of days.
So I think I think we would be correct to identify this as a fall-on effect of the tanker seizures out of Venezuela?
Like how they were seizing tankers or alleged oil smugglers, or what?
No, I mean direct economic impact of those oil supplies not coming through their usual channels, and Iran not being able to take advantage of those. Maybe I'm wrong there, maybe not, but it seems like interesting timing that we start seizing tankers off the coast of Venezuela, then all of a sudden Iran's in an economic crisis.
It is interesting. Is there a lot of trade of oil between Venezuela and Iran?
I don't know exactly, but it just feels like a domino. I'll do a little bit of research while we listen to some more of these clips, but I do want to point out one thing about that last clip. He mentions that the currency is losing value against the dollar, which I don't know how important that is to Iran because they don't deal in dollars. They're sanctioned by the U.S., so I'm sure that's an easy way to explain a devalued currency. I don't know if the effect has the same magnitude as you would think about a currency that is tied to the dollar having. That I just don't know about that.
Here we go. Petroleum industry support. Iran provides condensate for blending with Venezuela's heavy crude, making it exportable. Iran technicians have worked on refinery rehabilitation projects, and Iran has supplied spare parts and equipment that Venezuela can't easily obtain elsewhere due to sanctions. The exact figures are opaque since both countries obscure transactions to evade sanctions, but estimates have placed bilateral trade in the hundreds of millions to low billions annually. They've conducted transactions using cryptocurrencies, barter arrangements, and gold to circumvent the dollar-based financial system. There you go.
Very interesting.
Yeah. The most prominent aspect involves Iran supplying refined fuel, refinery components, and technical expertise to Venezuela. Despite having massive crude reserves, Venezuela's refining capacity collapsed due to mismanagement and lack of maintenance. Okay. So Iran has been refining Venezuelan oil and helping Venezuela refine its oil.
Which begs the question, if Iran is a domino of the tanker seizures in Venezuela, is Russia another domino down that line?
It's possible, although Iran does supply Russia with oil through, what's this sea called? The Caspian Sea to the north. So it's not as dependent on that, I guess, trade line. But
no, but in the same way, Iran's not dependent on Venezuela as a buyer. Well, okay. I don't know. That's why I'm asking the question. You know, if this is a domino effect, how long until we hear about the hyperinflation in Russia?
Probably not very long, considering oil is one of those things where it's almost like oxygen. It's oxygen for economies.
Right.
It's caffeine for your car. It's interesting because I think Iran poses a lot of potential opportunities. We talked about the trade route through Turkey and Azerbaijan and whatnot. We completely circumvent the need for the Caspian Sea, which the northern portion is controlled by Russia entirely if Iran falls to the west. I don't think it's as simple as Iran's going to fall to the west and it's going to be a Western ally all of a sudden. But if it does, that is a huge strategic win for Europe and the West in general.
Well, it would also be foolish to say that just because there is some economic strife in Iran means that all the dominoes are going to fall and the West is going to win without any kind of a collateral mess.
I'll tell you, if Iran does fall and the Middle East then is out of, great demons at that point, outside of Pakistan or Terroristan, if you're India, that's a huge win for Donald Trump and the Republicans. Period. That would be
as
huge.
long as the existing power structure doesn't cannibalize itself.
Well, it would be
in the fallout.
It would be either Israel or Saudi Arabia taking control of Iran, and Israel obviously has vested interest. But I much see Iran becoming a rump state. It becomes a Yemen.
Maybe that I think Iran is too prominent to become a Yemen. I think there's too much there in geopolitical position and its resources.
It is the smack dab center of East meets West. It's insane. So Iran it's important, very important. And I think when I saw the students protesting, your prediction kind of bums me out because I really do like hope. I know a lot of Iranian Americans, and they're very nice people. Very great people, and a lot of them have learned to live around the regime. Most Iranians don't even agree with the regime at all. They're just kind of
something that is not talked about enough, for I think very purposeful reasons, is that, and I'm not comparing and contrasting, but to paint a picture of Iranians as this great Satan. It's never mentioned that Iranians aren't Arabs.
No, they're Persians.
They're basically ancient Caucasians.
Yeah. They'll always correct you. And a lot of times, if somebody in America says they're Persian, it means they're Iranian. Almost 100% of the time.
Yeah. Which goes to my point of, I think, Iran itself in its position is too prominent to become a rump state, which begs the question: if the regime falls, whose guy takes the reins? Because they're too proud of a people to be lorded over by another state. I don't think that would ever happen in Iran.
Well, a lot of the protesters, a lot of this is, I don't know if it was sparked on by or if it was a guy capturing the moment, but the son of the Shah, the deposed Shah, he's been tweeting out, it's time to unify together and protest against the regime. So, he could be a potential candidate. I know the West would love it. Ever since Operation Ajax, we've been very pro-Shah. And if you haven't heard about Operation Ajax, I'd recommend you check out a podcast called Redacted, where they have an episode on Operation Ajax. It's very, very good. And it's just kind of the interest that we've always had in trying to control Iran and how it went tits up in the 70s.
Yeah. Yeah, because for all of the blue jeans and the freedom, the Persian people couldn't take being a puppet in the region.
Well,
and
it came
the religious leaders
through the universities in the 70s. It was the young kids that brought the regime to power in the 70s. It came in through the universities. All the major protests were led by the young kids, and they became the religious extremists. What's interesting about it is we're seeing that same pattern, but now in reverse against the regime, where the young kids are against the regime and want something else. They want to pretty much flip the switch back to Shah.
Okay, then if this is a Gen Z pattern protest, if this is the university intellectual elite, basically, which I think for any successful protest, you have to have some form of an aristocracy leading it. If that's the case, why is the narrative that it's shopkeepers? and that it's all economic.
Well, the narrative initially, because the initial protests were shopkeepers, and then it was the college kids that grabbed a hold of it and joined the protests. So, they said the third day of protests, so the protest started with the shopkeepers, it quickly spread to the universities, and now the kids are involved. So and I think the kids are the seeded aspect, where the shopkeepers and the economic situation was the cop on George Floyd's neck, and the kids are Black Lives Matter.
Well, this France 24 segment that is highlighting strictly economic factors and shopkeepers was from 8 hours ago.
Well, they're just dumb. Then I don't know what to tell you.
All right. Let's hear. So we got the reasons for the protest from France 24. Now let's hear why the economic situation is so bad.
And what about the economic crisis? What sort of hardship are Iranians going through right now?
Well, the rial, Iran's currency, is in free fall. Iran's government is scrambling to figure out how to deal with that. But the reality is that people are not able to afford groceries. They're not able to pay a lot of things. Water is being regularly shut off in cities. So there's just a squeeze on the population. And inevitably, when inflation is rising at these rates, you're going to have people decide that they would rather take to the streets and express their discontent and face the possibility of violence from security forces than continue on with the status quo. One really significant thing is that these protests began yesterday. This is the second day of ever widening protests, and it began in the bazaars. So that's a sort of lifeblood of Iran, central markets, and shopkeepers and others were gathering together to protest because they are protesting an economic situation that is no longer viable. But what's really key about this is when there are protests in the bazaar and when it spreads in that way, then it can be longer enduring. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, that was the wrong clip, but we'll use it.
That's what you asked for. Economic situation.
Why is the economic situation bad?
Oh, I see. Let me play that one.
Well,
okay,
no.
Really
There's no
serious
need.
Hold on. Okay, fine. You're crispy again. That's why I was going to play it and restart you. Okay. Alrighty, John.
Actually, hold on. Let me unplug and plug my microphone back in and see if there's some connection issue that keeps doing this to us.
Oh, yes. The new cable issue. Folks, you are here for episode 200. It's a historic night for the offensive, and we're happy that you're here with us. You're here along with us, and it's just a general joy to be able to say that we've done 200 of these, and you guys have been here right along with us. Always a pleasure. You back? The famous, let me unplug this cable and then disappear and ghost you from the show. Well, that'll happen. Hello.
Okay.
Yes.
That looks much better on my end.
Perfect.
Where were we? Wrong clip.
Wrong clip.
Okay, just put a marker right here and I'll start back. Okay, that was the wrong clip, but we'll go with it. It's that is from an Atlantic Council rep on the DW from 2 days ago, and the reason I wanted to play the most recent one first was to show the evolution of this narrative. And basically, the narrative has gone from the shopkeepers were involved, and there's a Gen Z element. And actually, I want to play this. This is the clip that really piqued my interest. It's the first clip from the Atlantic Council rep on protests from the DW. She's actually going to talk about some of the chants that have been heard in the protests.
Protests have erupted in Iran after its currency plummeted to a new record low against the US dollar. Videos posted on social media show Iranians taking to the streets in several cities. The demonstrations started Sunday and have since spread to other cities. It's the most widespread unrest in Iran since 2022, when protests broke out over the death in police custody of Gina Mahsa Amini. Jisoo Nia is a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council and a human rights lawyer in Iran. What else is behind?
She's also very pretty. I saw this clip.
These protests beside the currency slump.
Well, the free fall in the currency is the thing that triggered it. But similar to successive protests that have happened since December 2017 in the country, oftentimes there's an economic trigger. But really, when you listen to the chants and the scale of the protests, it's about a deep undercurrent of dissatisfaction with the regime in Iran and a desire for the regime to go. So if you listen to the slogans that are coming out of the protests, which are spreading across Tehran and to other cities in Iran, you hear things like, Zan Zindagi Azadi, woman life freedom, hearkening back to the 2022 protests. You hear students would rather die than accept humiliation, which is repeated from university students who are protesting. You hear death to the dictator, the regime must go. You also hear rejection of the Islamic Republic of Iran's foreign policy, so neither Gaza nor Lebanon, my life for Iran. So these are the kinds of chants that are coming out. There are also some chants that are expressing some support for the monarchy. This is a nod to Reza Pahlavi, who is the son of the deposed monarch in Iran. So overall, a lot of rejection of the current regime, and it's really hitting this undercurrent of dissatisfaction with the current rule.
See, that was I have that clip as well. So that helped me.
Yes, so this is 2 days ago. This is from the DW. And it's a more varied protest. And then 8 hours ago from France 24, the narrative, even though it is a different outlet, is strictly economic, shopkeepers, that's it. The people of Iran can't afford anything. It's economic. It's untenable. Nothing else mentioned.
So you're saying there's conflicting sort of narratives going on here?
I think the narrative is being shaped, and I think it's tending toward this economic narrative, because that is, why did those people rise up against their leader? Well, they couldn't afford anything. It's something that resonates with people right now, I think, and is
around the world
less questionable.
But why would France 24 be pushing that forward?
Because it's the world against Iran. I mean, they're a Western outlet.
But wouldn't you want to hear that the students in Iran are also displeased with the regime, if that were the case?
No, I don't think so. I think you need a singular narrative. I think you need an easy answer to why was the supreme leader overthrown.
You think the supreme leader will get overthrown?
No. I don't. He could, but I don't know that he will. It depends. They've got a pretty good track record of putting these kind of things down. But as I said earlier, I think this protest in Iran is the culmination of all the protests we've seen so far this year. So you've got, this is basically the Super Bowl of regime change. You got your best people on the ground and in cyberspace, and you've got basically the most difficult regime to overthrow, duking it out.
We need to get a terrorist organization that attacks the Iranian regime. That's what we need. We need our Houthis.
Why would we need that?
So we could overthrow the regime within. So we could. That's what Israel needs. They need the Kurds in Turkey to help keep Turkey at bay. They need the factions of Syria to help keep Syria destabilized. They need some destabilizing group in Iran that's armed and can pose a real threat to the regime.
Why do you need that if you just overthrow the supreme leader?
Well, if you can overthrow the supreme leader, if you don't think he's going to get overthrown, then the logical next step is you need a disruptive group or a terrorist group that's going to cause major problems for the leader.
I don't know that that's possible in Iran. I think we would have already seen that strategy play out before any of this if it was possible.
I don't know. I think when you make it look like an organic grassroots change, that's pretty powerful. But if it's not powerful enough, then you have to resort to insurgency. Not, us insurgency, but taking people that live there already and turning them into terroristic insurgents.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by this, if you can't tell, and I wish I had more insight into the initial hours of these protests, and more than just watching YouTube videos from yesterday, day before, and then today to try to catch the differences, to analyze what's actually happening. And I know there's probably some material out there, but again, Iran it's pretty hard to get videos out of Iran. It's pretty hard to get social media posts that aren't just fanboying over the supreme leader out of Iran. It's pretty tough to do an analysis on what's happening in Iran, which is why I'm a little jealous of your boots on the ground in Iran, and why I disparage it, because I'm a little jealous of it.
I would love for my sister-in-law to give me her father's number. I could just be like, what do you think of this? What about this aspect? Although I feel like he probably wouldn't want me to have his number, because I'd ask questions that he probably wouldn't want records of having been asked on his personal cell phone. So
yeah,
I understand the hesitancy there.
Let's do one more Iran clip, and it's kind of been meandering, I feel like. So let's do one more, and then it's about time to thank some people. But let's hear the DW clip from a couple of days ago about the regime's response so far.
But how is the state responding this time?
Well, we saw that the president of the Islamic Republic took to X, which is a platform that's banned in Iran, and was, calling for engagement. We see other members in this.
Why would the president call for engagement on a platform that's banned in Iran if he didn't know that everyone was using X in Iran already? I thought that was peculiar when I heard it the first time.
State sort of saying similar things, but what we have seen that's actually very concerning is that the Islamic Republic has already started to deploy security forces. We see videos circulating online that show security forces using tear gas. We see them also shooting at peaceful protesters. I'll note that in prior protests, live ammunition was used and has killed and maimed protesters. Also, projectiles like metal pellets or paintball guns that are not meant to be used at close range, different weapons that are sometimes meant for protest crowd control, but which are not used in this manner, are used in these protests. So it's very concerning that we already see security forces being deployed in multiple cities to deal with these protesters.
Jisunia from the Atlantic Council, thank you very much for your time here on DW.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Careful over there, Dan.
What?
You're swooning. You're swooning over this lady.
Oh, she wasn't that cute. She was cute, but she wasn't that cute.
Yes. So I think all of this is related, and it would be foolish to say it's not related in some way. And I'm fascinated by the knock-on effect of us seizing tankers in Venezuela, which we will talk about a little bit later, and probably end up talking about Iran again. And then you have the economic situation in Iran, wondering whether or not that's going to cause some kind of knock-on effect in Russia, which could really change the global dynamic. If Russia all of a sudden needs to make peace with Ukraine, an emboldened Europe could could change the world overnight, basically. And then something else we'll talk about, for one reason or another, whether it be intimidation, practice, or some other reason, China surrounding Taiwan and doing live fire drills around Taiwan, simulating a blockade and doing live fire drills. Trump is downplaying that. All the while, Israel is, I would say, being relatively quiet for Israel about all of this. And you have basically the only thing out of them is the Somaliland part.
Well, so I will add something that's interesting and connects those two together is Taiwan has actually invested quite a bit in Somaliland for their rare metals.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's just like everything this week is related, and it's really not, it's like usually 6 degrees of separation, but it's like if you look deep enough, regional competition, the UAE has invested heavily in developing the port of Berbera, this is Yemen, and the Abraham Accords partner likely supports this development. Taiwan has invested in Somaliland's rare earth metals and minerals section, showing the territory's appeal to internationally isolated states seeking strategic partnerships. So Taiwan, who we know is making all the microchips, is making all its microchips and using a lot of metals and minerals from Somaliland area. So it adds another element to not just geography, but material as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's pick this up in just a little bit. Let's take a little break from this whirlwind of a global
200's
news
hot,
week.
baby. 200 is hot.
And I want to have more concrete predictions or convictions about what all of this means and what it's going to look like in a week, but I'm still trying to work through it because it's all fresh.
We got you down.
Let's thank some people, and we'll see if it'll strike us in the second half.
Boom. Let's do just that. I did get you down for the prediction, first week of 2026, crackdown on the Iranian protesters. That's what you said.
Millennial Media Offensive.
Although we should, it might be a good time to look back at some of our predictions that we've made this year.
So that, it could be end of the year. End of the year, look at those. Probably going to seem pretty foolish in hindsight.
Well, if there's an attack on Jewish people in America in April or June, you'll win that one. These are a lot of your predictions.
Yeah, because you never go out on a limb.
Okay. John GD predicts Dalai Lama returns to Nepal due to yaktivists. Still feeling good about that one?
Well, that was a mix-up of the countries that we talked about the next show.
Sure. Thai military Thai military ousts leadership again by 2027. I don't even remember the analysis behind that one.
Just the cycle of military coups in Thailand.
Here's one of my predictions. September 2nd, end of 50 days, nothing will happen. Do you remember what happened on September 2nd?
Is that when Trump gave Iran 50 days?
I believe so.
Yeah, something happened. How effective it was, we don't know. But.
Right. I'm with you there. Here's one. Iranian regime change within Trump presidency. I predicted it. John disagreed. That happened on July 1st, 2025.
Okay. We may be seeing that.
Trump says Congress will not stop, or John says Trump will not stop Congress. John says Congress will not stop Trump from war with Iran and will, in fact, rubber stamp it through.
Didn't even need a rubber stamp. We just bombed away.
Israel, spurred by Trump's rejection, directs U.S. media to promote racially inflammatory stories to kick off a summer of riots. Then Patsy is selected, preferably someone who is in effect diametrically opposed to the Israeli state, yet a registered Republican, to take the shot. Trump is killed, and facts about the shooter are swept under the rug. Weirdo.
Well, it wasn't Trump.
Sure, Charlie Kirk. There you go.
Yeah.
That's hell yeah. That's pretty good. That was in May of this year.
Was that yours?
That was.
You like predicting riots. I think that was yours.
I do. Okay. Well, that's pretty good. I like that one. I'll take the W. Josh Shapiro will be raised as a common sense center-left leader that will appeal to the middle-of-the-road voter and give Pennsylvania back to Democrats. That was one of mine. Where's My Return? A narrative about Doge effing over the American people. Part of the chaos and confusion narrative. That is yet to happen. That'll happen in April of 2026. 2028, okay. Yeah, basically some predictions about the 2028 presidential elections. Oh, here's one. In the summer of 2025, protests will return after 4 years of Biden ending racism. That was in February of 2025. What did we see all summer? No Kings protests, but not racial protests.
Kind of wet farts.
Yeah, weak. Anyway, some of those were good.
Yeah, better than I thought they'd be.
Me too. I was ready to read a list of just
the Charlie Kirk one was good. It wasn't Charlie Kirk in name. It was a little more.
It was Trump, but it was
high profile,
symbolic.
But yeah,
that's good. I think that actually reaffirmed us. I was like, I feel like we were pretty good on those.
Yeah, we're pretty good at looking at things fairly objectively, and our general, even though we don't have a lot of intel, we don't have any more intel than anybody else. I don't think we've ever gotten a note that we chose not to read or were asked not to read because it was super secret or sensitive.
No, mostly it just contains a bunch of racist stuff. We're not reading that.
Yeah. So I would say all things considered, for what this is as a podcast, I would give us a B+.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're kind of on the money on those predictions for the most part. We will see. But that being said, we are.
You did not have my my cloud seeding prediction in there. You failed to write it down.
I think it was before I wrote the program for the prediction list. So
maybe.
My apologies.
Well, don't worry about it.
All right. Very well. So that being said, we are a value for value podcast, meaning we don't have advertisers. We're not going to succumb to some agenda of a third party advertiser, big pharma, whatnot. Instead, we receive our value directly from our producers. It can come in many ways. It can come in artwork. It can come in articles. It can come in fiat donations or Bitcoin donations, or just being our pals, just being our friends, being in the chat room on a Tuesday night and adding value. A lot of times you'll hear us shout out a name and say, so-and-so said this, so-and-so said that. We're reading directly in the chat room, and if you are available on a Tuesday night at 5:30 p.m. Central, you should go to chat.mmo.show and join us there. You can also go to live.mmo.show or stream.mmo.show and hear the show live at that same time as well. That being said, we always like to thank the person that provided the art from the previous week, and that was none other than Wolf last week, and he supplied the Appeal to MMO piece of art, which was very, very good. I liked it. It's obviously an appeal to heaven. Is that the proper title for it?
Yes.
And it's a take on that, and that features a pine tree. And because it was our Christmas episode, Appeal to MMO with the Christmas tree just fit very well. Of course, we named that one Patriots of the Caribbean, which is a phenomenal name, and I love it.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Good piece of art. I like our font has got a little holly on it, and it's very festive. And it looks like the Appeal to Heaven flag a little bit. I think Wolf got the concept. He's like, I'm not going to mess around with the font as much this time around. He knows I'm a stickler for font. It's the one thing that I am very pointed about. But I like the piece. He submitted a few other pieces. I don't recall what they were. I remember them being funny. Let's see if I can have it in my email here. He sent something. For some reason, I feel like he had a request last week. I don't remember what it was. Maybe not. Yeah, one was
basically Paul Revere
riding
across a sea.
Yep.
You have what looks like the crossing of the well, not really. It's just some guys on a boat drinking beer. One of them appears to have a dog's head.
Oh, yeah. I didn't notice that. Third guy from the left. Yeah, that's funny.
We have an MMO Christmas tree.
Classic.
And then the Paul Revere riding across the ocean with "The Natives Are Coming." An appeal to MMO was the most bland of the pieces, but it captured the Christmas spirit and referenced a legendary American flag, so it was a no-brainer for me.
Easy peasy.
I said, Dan, we're choosing this piece. I'm putting my foot down.
Yes, you did. And then you also said, blame it on me. Tell Elise I'm the reason you're late. And I did.
Yes, I said that as well.
Yeah. Very good. So thank you very much, Wolf. Much appreciated. It doesn't have to be Wolf. Anyone can submit art. You can send that to dan@mmo.show or john@mmo.show. Operators will be standing by to thank you for your service and tell you whether or not if it's good or not. Much appreciated. Moving on, we're going to go.
Is that Wolf?
Is what Wolf?
These people have so many nicknames.
Yeah, that's Wolf.
Okay, that's Wolf. All right.
Yeah, I know.
I've always called him by his other name.
What's great is the people that reach out, and I see their name, I recognize their name, and I also recognize that we've never said it on the show or put it in the show notes, and so I know they have a name, but they don't reach. They're not that common at reaching out, and they don't tell me what their nickname is again. So then I go back in the past emails to try to track them down. That's always the best. People that like come once or twice a year. They're like, hey, you remember me, right? It's just like,
yeah, you should really do that more often.
Yeah, yes, please do. That being said, we've got a couple of people that went to mmo.show/donate and found the donation button. They went to either PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, Stripe, to name a few, and hit the donate button and sent a little message along with it, and it's always much appreciated. So we'll go ahead and we'll read those right now. Starting at the top of the list comes none other than Berlin, and I'm actually going to pull this back to my screen here. Berlin came in through PayPal with a show number donation of $200, and he says, wishing the two of you ein frohes neues Jahr while listening through Fuentes' super chat section. 200 more shows, Berlin. Do you know what eins frohes neues Jahr means?
Eins frohes neues Jahr.
Eins frohes neues Jahr. It means Happy New Year. In German.
Eins frohes neues Jahr to you too.
That's right. Thank you. Du hast Mannertiten. Hallo. Thank you, Berlin. Much appreciated. Danke. That is an executive producer credit, by the way, Berlin. So thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes. Serpent comes in with an associate executive producer credit through PayPal with $62.26, which is a play on the new year of 2026. And he says, happy 200th. Here's to staying on the offensive and to a great show.
On the offensive.
Thank you very much, Serpent. Much appreciated. Always good to hear you're our favorite snake, our favorite coiled one, and happy to have you on the offensive. I've chatted with Serpent quite a bit throughout the years. He's a fun guy. You should get to know
you
him.
speak Parseltongue and German.
That's right. I'm a Hufflepuff. That's the notorious quality of Hufflepuff is they speak German and whatever you said, parcel tongue. Praetor Weirdo of the Not So Flatlands came in through Cash App with $20, and he says, OTO
on the offensive
for 200 episodes. Here's to 200 more. Thank you, sir. I'm glad to have you on the offensive. He's somebody I've had physical roast beef with, Weirdo. We've sat down and we broke roast beef together. Much appreciated. Thank you, Mr. Weirdo. I think it was about a year ago was the last time he rolled through St. Louis, so he's about due for another one. So thank you there, Weirdo. Or Praetor Weirdo of the Not So Flatlands. Much appreciated. Trashman came in through PayPal with $18.53 and says, thank you guys for all you do. I love the black pills and the comedy surrounding them. You're not the only podcast I listen to, but by far my favorite. Excellent dynamic and quality content. That's very nice. That's a very nice note, Trashman. Thank you very much. Susan A. comes in through Cash App with $5.55, and she says, Happy New Year. To which I say, Ein Fraus Noissoir to you as well. The Nail Lord of Gaylord comes in through Venmo with $5 and says, Nlog here, OTO.
On the offensive.
As an anarchist Hindu, I like to wish my coworkers happy holidays for the reactions. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds, from Hindu scriptures of Bhagavad Gita. Thank you, sir. Hope you have a happy Diwali. I think that's coming up. And then finally, Sir Cascadia comes in through Cash App with $5 and says, Santa is from Suomi, Finland. And I say, baloney, sir. Santa is from Northern Greenland, I believe. But I'll take it on that you are a Canadian, I believe. So you might know more than I do. Thank you very much. And that does it for our Fiat donators. Great to see a big, healthy list for our 200th episode on this green earth and on the RSS feed. Much appreciated. I believe we have a couple of boosts that have come in.
Yes, we do. Thank you all for your donations. It means a lot. I'm happy that we got one show number donation. 200 is a big deal. We've been doing this a lot longer than I thought we would. Not that I put a date on it or anything, but 200 feels like a big deal, and I'm glad you all thought so as well. We have, for our boost this week, we have Pitar coming in with 10,000 Satoshis, which makes him a bag daddy for the show, and says Merry Christmas.
Bag daddy.
Bag daddy. The bag daddy. Thank you, sir, Pitar.
Then Eric PP comes in with 3,333 Satoshis with no note. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Bully Steed comes in with 2,626 and says, fraud pattern recognition will continue until morale improves. Remain on the offensive. Hashtag MMO, hashtag OTO.
On the offensive.
Thank you, ma'am.
Nostra Gang sends 111 Satoshis and says, send that weather up here, please. I think the 70 degrees we were discussing.
Yeah, it's now 19, so you still want it. You're welcome to it.
I think it's probably 25 or 6 here.
It's one of the two. I stepped out. It was funny because Sunday morning, it was still about 70 degrees. And I was like, oh, this is nice. I blew a couple of leaves off the driveway, and I got the paper. And then Elise asked me to get her coconut water out of the garage fridge at like 8 p.m. that night. And I step outside, and I'm like, holy smokes, it was 19 degrees or 20 degrees or something along those lines. Big 50-degree shift. You're not expecting it. It is pretty wild.
Yeah, absolutely. That does it for our donors for this show. It was a good year. Thank you all for supporting. Hope we can make it a better year next year. Let us know what we can do to make it a more valuable show for you. We want this to be a self-propelling machine, and that means we need to make it more valuable so that we receive more value from you because we refuse to take it from advertisers. So the least you could do is let us know what we could do to make it more valuable. But until then, we hope you'll stick around with us every Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. for the Millennial Media Offensive. and we'll see you in the second half.
Hoorah.
Get it on.
And we have now entered the second half of the show. Lovely break there. Always good to hear from people. Where do you want to...
Lovely break.
Lovely break.
I think we go right into Venezuela.
I'm for it. I'm for it, too. We've been very heavy. Did you hear me just say I'm for it and then respond to myself by saying I'm for it, too?
I did hear that.
That's what lack of sleep will do to you, folks. I caught it as soon as I said it.
Let's. I've got a clip from today when it was confirmed that we are striking targets on land in Venezuela. CIA strike CNN.
Breaking overnight, a CNN exclusive. Sources say the CIA carried out a drone strike on a port facility on Venezuela's coast earlier this month. This is the first known U.S. attack on a target inside the country. Now, before this, the U.S. had only conducted strikes on suspected drug trafficking boats in international waters, destroying more than 30 vessels in the Caribbean Sea. You can see some of the images of what we've seen to this point, and this has typically been in the Caribbean Sea and Eastern Pacific. Now, President Trump first acknowledged the strike on a remote Venezuelan dock in an interview last week.
And we just talked out, I don't know if you read or you saw, they have a big plant or a big facility where they send where the ships come from. 2 nights ago, we knocked that out. So we hit them very hard.
Very hard. Perfect strikes. All around.
You've never seen strikes like it.
No.
Yeah. So we are striking Venezuela. We're striking this. It's basically a makeshift port, from what I understand, where drug boats were loaded, which makes me wonder, what else are we looking at to strike? Because if this is truly about causing a domino effect in other places, you would really want to take out some of the oil production in Venezuela, unless you want to take advantage of that in a few months or a year maybe. So that limits your targetability in the country, but I think you could probably see some strikes on oil in transit in Venezuela, or maybe it's more effective to just seize these tankers once the oil is loaded, and you strike the drug assets on ground just to make a point.
The fact that you can hear that little baby girl go da-da and not stop the show and go hold her. That's focus and dedication, folks. As soon as my baby girl says da-da, we're done. I'm just kidding. I think you raise a good point, though.
Okay, well, let's hear some details on this strike, shall we?
Let's do it.
I want to bring in CNN's Kevin Liptak, who's in Palm Beach, Florida, for us. So, Kevin, what can you tell us about this new escalation, really, at this point?
Yeah, and it is a major escalation. President Trump has been threatening for weeks now to begin action on land in Venezuela. Now that we're learning that that has actually begun, it does seem to signal a much more aggressive phase in this pressure campaign on the leader there, Nicolas Maduro. Now, what sources tell us is that this CIA drone strike took out a facility on a dock on the coast of Venezuela where the U.S. government believes the gang trender Aragua was loading up ships with drugs for onward shipping. Now, there was no one in the facility at the time, so there were no casualties. But I think the way all of this came to light is also extraordinary. CIA operations are normally shrouded in secrecy, and unless President Trump had sort of let it slip in that radio interview, which I would note was with a billionaire Republican donor, it's possible that we may never have known that this had happened. And the president over at Mar-a-Lago yesterday was not particularly forthcoming about what all of this looked like. He said it was a major explosion in a dock area. He said they load the boats up with drugs, we hit all the boats, and that this was the implementation area. I was over there and I asked the president point blank whether this was a military strike or whether this was some sort of CIA action, and the president said, "I don't want to say that. I know exactly who it was." So you hear him there sort of not revealing any more details than he let slip in that radio interview. You know, the president did authorize the CIA to take action inside Venezuela earlier this year, but this is really the first we're hearing of what exactly they've been up to in that country.
I don't want to say it, but I know who did it.
yeah, I know who did it. You don't know who did it, but I know.
What's particularly funny about this CNN segment is I've heard the CNN segment too, and this clip you pulled, it's probably like an 8 to 10 minute CNN because it's like multiple segments stringed together. But everyone is like utterly horrified that the Trump would talk about the CIA operation, as in the mainstream media is horrified that they have information about what the government is doing, when that information should not be released.
Well, obviously he let it slip. He didn't say that on purpose.
Right.
Of course, what president would say that on purpose?
This is terrible.
He has to be feeble-minded and letting things slip.
He's letting the war crimes that we're doing, he's releasing that to the press?
What?
I thought that was the most comical aspect of the whole segment, is they're all freaking out because Trump is letting people know what the CIA is doing in Venezuela.
Yeah, that it is pretty funny, the whole take, and that's not the last time you'll hear that he had to have let this slip. As a matter of fact, I have this next clip titled "Monday Comments Awful Analysis."
Here we go. I have like, these are my Venezuela clips as well, so I know what you're talking about.
All right, now joining the group chat, Kim Dozier, CNN Global Affairs Analyst. Kim, thank you for being with us and joining us. I want to get your expertise and your thoughts on this first, both on what he said in that interview Friday, but also what he said on Monday when asked about the attack. So let's listen to what he said there on Monday.
There was a major explosion in the dock area where they load the boats up with drugs. They load the boats up with drugs, so we hit all the boats, and now we hit the area. It's the implementation area. That's where they implement, and that is no longer around.
Okay, so he's talked about this twice now.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be a CIA attack, right? CIA is usually covert, right? What's going on here?
So it makes me wonder if this was planned or he forgot when he was briefed that this was a covert operation. Now, when something like this takes place, usually certain members of Congress are briefed, certain people throughout the interagency process, and they will keep their mouths shut until the act itself becomes public. And I think that's why you're now seeing the details released, because he's just outed what was supposed to be a deniable operation.
How do you know?
He's also let the enemy know there could be more of this coming. So now you've got
because they didn't know that.
They didn't know it was coming, and they have the military assets, despite the reporting 2 weeks ago from this very organization talking about how underprepared and under-equipped their military is. Now they're going to all of a sudden have anti-drone capabilities.
You got to let her get there, because she hadn't says it yet, but it is so good.
Yeah. All right, I'll let her get there.
Operators on the ground thinking about counter-drone operations. Apparently, there was no one, according to CNN's reporting, when the strike happened at this facility. You can bet now they're going to have guards at all of these facilities because they're not vulnerable.
What?
Swat the drones out of the sky?
Yeah. Oh, is that a Reaper up there?
Right.
It's so dumb.
Well, I think what she's implying here is that now there's going to be collateral, like death. Like you're going to be killing poor Venezuelans with the strikes.
And that kind of gets to what I was going to ask next, which is I don't want to lose sight of, what are the consequences? Yeah. What are the reasonings for keeping these operations covert? What are the consequences when they become public?
Well, when you have a drone, it's obviously that's not going to put troops in harm's way. It is a way of harassing the drug cartels, the Venezuelan regime. It's unlikely to unseat Venezuelan strongman Maduro, but at least it shows that the U.S. is doing something, and it seems it's almost performative, and that's possibly why Trump brought it up in public.
What are the consequences of this?
Which one is it? Is it covert that Trump blew? Is it a covert operation that Trump blew, or is it provocative, and that's why Trump brought it up?
I wasn't expecting that question, and I'm just going to talk until I find the point.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what she did.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to know that a Reaper drone isn't going to overthrow the leader of Venezuela.
No, but they are harassing cartels. The question, the fact that she's like, I have these things to say. Well, here's my question to you. Well, I won't answer it. But, she gives that answer, and then she nods like, yep, I'm done with that response.
Yes, I can say words.
It's exactly right. You can see her face doing it.
It is funny, though. I can't be overstated how funny it is that she's like, striking these things with drones lets them know that more could be on the way. Wow.
And also, if Venezuela...
What insight.
If we're going after drug cartels, that's very much known. It's in the public. And then a drone hits a drug cartel staging area, but the U.S. doesn't claim responsibility for it. Are the Venezuelans just going to think it was a rod of God? It was just a lightning bolt?
Yes. Yes, it was... It was Brazil.
Yeah. Damn Brazilians and their nuts. Insane. Yep, that's the news media for you. It's a dying form of media.
Yes. Okay. Well, let's finish my clips up with a speculation on motive.
So I do want to hit on kind of the motives here of Venezuela attacks in general, because the president has also not shied away from the idea of regime change in Venezuela, right? So, Maria, what do you see this being here? Is this regime change? What is the motive in your eyes?
I think that is the big question. What is the motive? And I think this goes to something that Kim said, which is this. Is it planned? Is this just something that Donald Trump blurted out because he forgot it was a covert operation? He first said, as we mentioned at the beginning of this program, that it was all about narcotics. Then they seize an oil tanker, and he talks about how he wants American companies to seize the oil. Then he talks
about Wiles also talking about that in an interview, right?
Exactly. Now it's about regime change. So what is it? The fear here, I think, of Americans, and I go back to the MAGA base, which is, I think, a big problem that he has, but Brian knows more about that, because this is not what the MAGA base wanted from somebody like Donald Trump, who promised not to get involved in foreign wars, and that's exactly what he's doing now. But what is the strategy? Has he briefed Congress? Is there an out? Is there a plan? There is no plan. And when the American people are hurting about how they are going to make ends meet, this is how they see their taxpayer money being spent. It's not a great political move for the president.
That is very funny.
Yeah.
Especially coming from a lady that was probably on one of these shows and whining about USAID being cut. I can picture her being there. And she goes back to how the U.S. dollars are being cut. And this whole, there is no plan. First it was the drug cartels, and then it was about regime change, and now we're hitting drones on things. It's always been about regime change, lady. It's always been about regime change.
It always has. And I think that's one of almost the duality of the Trump administration is domestically, it really feels like whack-a-mole because of the people that have been appointed. But internationally, I think there's always been a plan. That's what Trump planned for. was to try to address all of these international problems and get America back in a prominent position. And that's where all of the competence has gone, and where the competent people are focusing their attention. And if we really do see this domino effect play out all the way down to Russia, it will you won't be able to deny that it will have been a masterstroke.
Agreed. Ned hilariously asked, "What was the plan in Ukraine?"
Well, we're just handing out cookies. That's all.
Pretty much. You get a missile. You get a Patriot missile.
Listen, I would add, Kim, you got it right. You said the enemy. Clearly, Venezuela is an enemy of the United States. They've made that position abundantly clear. We've now seen reports, in major media outlets that Hezbollah is making inroads in Iran, is making inroads in Venezuela. We know Venezuela plays a critical role to Cuba, and it has always been the U.S.
Hezbollah is making inroads into Iran and Venezuela. The Lebanese terrorist group is making inroads in Venezuela.
You know what? We're too far behind, Dan. This guy's really on it. He really sees what's happening here. It's the U.S. versus Hezbollah everywhere in the world.
30 years ago, people took what this channel was saying as solid gold. And 30 years ago, the internet wasn't as good as it is now. It's just nuts to me. Have they been feeding people like crap like that forever?
Probably.
Shame.
As policy of regime change in Cuba.
But we have a lot of enemies, and we're not.
Yeah, but not in our hemisphere like that. These guys are in our hemisphere. And what we've always done in the history of the United States is when somebody comes in our hemisphere and threatens our hemisphere, we flex our muscle. And we should never apologize for flexing our muscle in our hemisphere.
Well, then what are you guys doing on this entire panel for?
Yeah, this is supposed to be their dissenting Republican who says that Hezbollah's in Venezuela. I think that was a faux pas. But this is supposed to be their dissenting Latino Republican talking head who defends the hemispheric approach. He's basically a Marco Rubio stan on the panel.
He would have liked my map, the illustration that Hannah sent in about the Western Hemisphere, and pretty much how the whole world is divided up into these quadrants.
Yeah, I can just see you sitting down with this guy and trying to explain to him, so this is the risk board.
Yeah, here it is. You can't defend this because you could get attacked from Greenland or Africa. More likely Russia.
Here's some guys. I'm taking the red guys. Just try it.
That's what's genius about the game Risk is even in real life, Europe is impossible to maintain peacefully. No one starts in Europe and wins. Show me a person that played Risk, and I will show you a guy that brought it to special ed class and beat all the special ed students. Because you cannot win if you start in Europe, period. And the Europeans are learning that.
It's such an appealing target, though, and not only in Risk.
Well, it's appealing, especially if you're strong. Like if you can take over Europe and then launch your attacks at North and South America and Africa from there, it's a strong position. But if you start
this concludes your lesson in Germanology.
Pretty much. All Germany had to do was win Europe, and then it had the launching board that it needed to take over the rest of the world. But it failed.
Couldn't do it
twice. Third time's the charm. That's what Ursula's thinking. Maybe. Probably not.
Fans of literature will know that the real starting point for world domination is South Africa.
You missed me with that one.
Well, I'll have to buy you. Do you read? Oh, well, I know you've told me you don't read very much or very good, but you should look up the Draca.
The Draca. I probably won't.
They're a fictional regime, and it's a very fascinating thought experiment of global domination emerging from South Africa.
I do like thought experiments on global domination.
Maybe when I get my silent mouse in the mail from you, I'll send you the book.
Okay. Yeah, I think you've just awoken to Dragon. You're going to get that silent mouse now. Perfect.
All right. So that concludes my Venezuela clips. I mean, what do you to put a bow on all of this? What are you thinking about the possibility that this is all related? What this means? What we're seeing right now? The time horizon for all of this to play out? I mean, talk to me, man.
I mean, not just Venezuela, but all the other things that are happening in Iran and Somaliland and all
because
of that.
it feels momentous this week.
It really does. It really did. Hitting in a lot of spots. I don't know. I think something big might be coming down the pike, or there's a thought that something big is coming down the pike. I think with the attacks in Africa, I think that is the most likely area where stuff will continue to spark up. But I can't get off that whole trade route through Europe, through Turkey and Azerbaijan, where that might be one of the main focuses of trying to shift the Iranian regime. Because if Iran falls, it's the land bridge that we need to those eastern countries that are already skeptical of China.
But at the same time, and I don't want to get too far into the weeds and stuff that we've discussed in the past, because people should go back and listen to those shows about those trade routes and donate for that analysis. But I think the trade routes through Turkey were almost an appeasement for Turkey and a contingency for if we can't get Iran out of the way and Russia continues to be a problem. And if we see this domino effect that is a very ethereal theory at the moment, if we see that domino effect take place, I think that's we put that trade route to the wayside because our problems are gone and we focus on China, and everything to the west of China is not a problem anymore.
Right. Oh, man. I don't know. It's so tough because there's so many moving pieces here.
Yeah.
One has to assume that they're related. Specifically, the whole Yemen and Somaliland. Those things are too geographically located for them to not be about the Bab al-Mandeb Strait.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it has to do with securing these economic routes, like hardcore economic routes. And I think that's what we're seeing with that Western Hemisphere domination is Trump is setting it up. And I'm not suggesting that Trump's playing 5D chess here. I'm saying that the strategy is pretty simple, where we control the Western Hemisphere. And I think due to our focus on the Western Hemisphere, we're pulling more out of that East. And I think that's what's leading to Israel and Saudi Arabia and the UAE all taking an interest in the heel of this Arabian Peninsula on the Bab al-Mandeb Strait. We realize that the U.S. is kind of backing out there, and there needs to be a new head honcho. And he who controls that Red Sea Strip, gets a lot of economic benefit out of that. So I think...
Well, if you think about everyone securing a piece of the Red Sea Basin,
right.
You have the UAE with the Rapid Support Forces, who have taken more territory than they ever have in the last month in Sudan. There's your waterfront territory for the Arab Emirates. Then you have Saudi Arabia. If they can secure Yemen, they get one side of the Bab el-Mandeb. They've already got waterfront on one side of the Red Sea Basin. Then you get Israel getting their little piece in Somaliland, south of Djibouti. America's already got Djibouti. Egypt keeps their stake. And you basically have a cohesive alliance based in economic policy around the Red Sea Basin. And everyone's happy but Iran.
Yes, and the Houthis get beat back because everyone else, benefits from that corridor being open. The Houthis are the only ones that benefit from clogging it up.
A thriving economic corridor in the Red Sea Basin gets rid of a lot of that strife. You give people livelihoods, and their interest in riding in Hiluxes and shooting machine guns gets relegated to basically sport.
Right. I think that a lot of these countries are looking at the Trump strategy of securing their corner of the globe, or I guess half of the globe, pretty much. And the other countries are also kind of keen on doing that. I think the region that is the most stressed out, and I think they're starting to learn, as we've heard with the previous clips, is Europe, because Europe is realizing they're on their own. And I think...
And to that point, we haven't talked about this, and we should at this moment, because Europe is at a higher stress point than it has been in the last month or so because of Ukraine striking at one of Putin's personal residences.
I saw that today. Yeah. They claim something like 61 drones were fired at one of Putin's residents. That's what Russia is saying. There's been no, I guess, proof presented of that fact, but I don't doubt it.
I would wager that it is fact, because apparently there was discussion about it between Trump and Putin.
Yeah, Putin called Trump in the Oval Office, and Trump was pretty pissed off about it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and Ukraine denies it. It could very well be a EU play. You know, we talked about the drones that were being spotted all over the EU.
Yes, it could be.
Ahead of getting the funding. So, you know, it could be something where Ukraine doesn't even know about it. I doubt that's the case, but it really seems like they want to blow up any sort of peace deal that there could possibly be with Russia. I think that's why Trump is so pissed off. He's about ready to have a they don't know what the F they're doing moment again, but this time between Ukraine and Russia.
Well, do you know who else greatly is at a great disadvantage if there's peace between Russia and the West? Is China.
Oh yeah, that falls back into the John Mearsheimer, probably early 20s of this show, episode wise, theory of pushing Russia into China's arms. Was one of the worst mistakes that we ever made. If we could pull Russia back into the West and have them be a competitor with us against China, that would be the best thing possible.
Yeah, at least a cordial economic competitor.
Right. Or, you know, just this triangle of powers that are constantly making sure that one doesn't become more powerful than the other. So you could see Russia probably flipping between the United States and China back and forth for years to come. Because I don't see Russia ever leading that triangle, really.
And this is a bit of a stretch, and it's more of a thought experiment than a statement. What does Turkey lose if there is stability around the Red Sea Basin?
All the funding coming in for supplies of conflicts that are going on.
That and economic corridor investment.
Are you implying that Turkey bombed Putin's house?
No. I'm just wondering how they're seeing all this. You know, are they seeing it as, you know, we were brought in as a partner in all of this. They dangled Syria in front of us because of our Kurd problem, and now it looks like we may be left out in the cold.
Speaking of curds, you got a cow back there making some cheese curds for you?
Yes, we have miniature cows in the house, and they're very entertaining.
That sounds fun.
It is. It's very fun. Yes, one of the Christmas gifts that Santa Claus brought. A little cow that walks around and moos incessantly.
Yeah, there's a piano song or like a little toy where the kids do tummy time, and it plays a song, and it's like the song's like, it's a catchy melody. It's maybe you could be a purple monkey in a big old tree. Something like that.
I haven't heard that one, but I like it.
Yeah, it's like you hear it, you're like, it sounds like a real song, and then you listen to the lyrics and they're nonsense. But I've heard it about 400 times a day, so.
Okay, well, very good. I think we've beat this risk board horse to death.
I'm for it.
And I do have more clips. I think we've pretty much talked about most of them in one way or another. I've got an economic clip or a segment from Canada, and apparently food prices in Quebec are getting kind of crazy. I don't know if you've heard about this, but we have some Canadian listeners, so I kind of feel obliged to visit Canada every now and then.
Sure.
Virtually, anyway. This is from City News, and this is Quebec food prices in the economy folder.
It's outrageous, the price of cheeses, whether they're Canadian cheeses or imported cheese.
Quebec is facing one of its worst food crises in recent history, with a poll showing that 36% of residents are dealing with food insecurity, up from 22% just 5 years ago. And grocery prices could rise another 6% in 2026, adding nearly $1,000 a year for a family of 4.
It's going worse and worse every year, so we have to watch what we buy. Cannot spend money like before, a couple of years before.
I watch every pamphlet, the special pamphlet. Like now, I look for the melon and things like that, you know. Yeah, I know next week you want to be more higher, so I want to come and buy the melon now.
I definitely tried to buy like more plant-based items because that is cheaper.
Ah, yes, I can see Chrystia Freeland when she came on CNN and soft-parented the U.S. and warned us that we shouldn't fight with Canada. I can see that it's definitely working out for Canada here, specifically the French Canadians.
I think I have a new calling in life after listening to this segment. They're bringing on, in the next clip, to discuss the reasons for the food costs, they're bringing on a food professor.
It's like that documentary where the guy, his title was ranch expert, and it was like ranch dressing expert.
Yeah.
The food professor.
Food professor Sylvain Charlebois says
Murphy.
several global and economic pressures have driven prices higher over the past 5 years, including the pandemic, the war in Ukraine, trade disputes, and rising tariffs.
When you tariff food, when margins are extremely low, whether it's 10% or even 5%, you're compromising the food affordability of a nation very, very quickly.
Oh. So when you when you decide to no longer subsidize Canada, food becomes kind of expensive. Hey, but at least you have that doctor that's going to tell you to kill yourself.
Yeah, and at least you got to say you played hardball with the U.S.
That's right. Good on you, Canada.
Enjoy your tofu.
Plant-based poutine.
All right. So, of course, we've got, and this has been a bit of a theme in some of the economic clips that I've brought in the last few weeks, which I can't help but think of the Feeding Our Futures from, I almost said Somalia again, from Minnesota. This is a clip about the food banks in Quebec.
As prices climb, demand at food banks is surging. Organizations now report serving more than 3 times as many people compared to 5 years ago.
We serve 3,241 different people per month. That's not... In terms of households, it's about 900 or 800 to 900 household per month.
And it's not just the number of people changing, but who is asking for help.
I think the profile of the people using it is definitely different than it used to be. We always had people working or having certain difficulties, but I think right now it's mainly what we see, bigger families, a lot of newcomers also.
A lot of newcomers. So that's interesting. The demand for food has gone up significantly, but there's a lot of newcomers that have also come to the region
with larger families.
Here's an article: Statistics Quebec. Quebec had a record high net migration gain of 217,000 people in 2023.
Almost like it's self-inflicted.
Frickin' idiots.
Put a marker down right there. Okay, so let's hear how some restaurants are dealing with this.
Rising food costs are also putting pressure on restaurants. Experts say menu prices could climb by 4 to 6% as operators face higher supply costs, lower alcohol sales, and changing customer habits, including how people are getting their protein.
Like you go to a coffee shop and they actually add protein in there because they know that there are a lot of protein orphans out there looking for that protein fix.
Protein orphans.
I had to play this segment. That's why I shoehorned this segment in strictly for protein orphans.
I think, I'm pretty sure that most protein orphans end up in a crispy sock under the bed of a 13-year-old.
Oh.
That's immediately what I thought of when I heard protein orphans.
Oh, my Lord. Okay, well, let's wrap this up.
As grocery prices continue to climb, shoppers are being forced to rethink how they spend. Even the center aisles, once considered the more affordable option, are no longer offering much relief.
So anything from breakfast cereals, coffee, noodles, like pasta, sauces, nuts, all these things in the middle of the store, they're likely going to be increasing in price.
The staple foods like butter, milk, all these have increased a lot by at least 50%.
In Montreal, Lola Calder, City News.
Yeah, the food professor who says pasta.
Pasta, sasses, nuts. Oh. Well, it turns out it didn't work out so well for you. And I think, what's his name, knew it was coming too. Castro's son.
Oh. You think that's why he
Trudeau?
Why he relented power?
That's why he went. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a more common meme than I guess recognized.
Yeah, our first Valentine's Day show was about. You did a whole segment on how Trudeau was probably Castro's son.
I remember that. I recall that. And since then, I've seen it mentioned in like Gun Tubers. Brandon Ferreira, the AK guy, mentioned it on a show. It was just kind of like laugh out loud for me because I'm like, hey, that's my shtick.
Yeah. Well, I've got this. I pulled this from last week, and I think this is interesting to watch because there's been some narrative in the U.S. economic discourse about housing prices. And how even if Trump, people are catching on to this as well, something we said from the very beginning, that the housing issue isn't a rate issue, it's a price issue. And I saw this from the Wall Street Journal. I think it's the Wall Street Journal. It's WJZ is what I have here. But this is about some foreclosures in Baltimore. And I think this may be a canary in the coal mine for some of the larger cities.
Now, as we've reported, there's a foreclosure crisis brewing in Baltimore City. A handful of out-of-state investors are buying hundreds of vacant homes and not repaying their lenders. Now, this has led to lenders pulling out of investments in some parts of the city that really need upgrades and improvements. So joining me now is Jack Bologna from our media partner, the Baltimore Banner. Thank you so much for joining us now.
Yes,
so,
the trustworthy Jack
earlier
Bologna.
this year, a New York investor's portfolio of Baltimore imploded. So what happened next?
Yeah, so we were talking about 700 homes, most of which are now in foreclosure, 2 companies associated with them in bankruptcy. And what that immediately kind of did is when these properties started hitting the foreclosure auction and people weren't buying them, lenders across the country said, we're going to pause lending in Baltimore. And these are private lenders, not banks. And they essentially said, we don't know what's happening in Baltimore right now. These valuations are strange, homes that were bought $200,000, $300,000 are then hitting the auction block and no one wants to buy them. And so that, as you mentioned, is really tough then for folks who are actually trying to fix up homes, get them back return them from vacant status to, with the tenant and occupied and rehabilitated.
Yeah, definitely a lack of trust there. So one of the major lenders of these loans is Rock Capital. So can you explain its impact on the housing crisis here in Baltimore?
Yeah, so I think lenders involved would say that they are victims in this as well as some of these neighborhoods. They would say that they have loans that then went bad and that they are, perhaps trying to figure out what happened in this situation. But Rock Capital and a lot of these other lenders that made loans in Baltimore to support these New York investors, they are part of this larger community of private investors that have, or private lenders, excuse me, that have really been pumping millions and millions of dollars in loans into Baltimore lately. And these are, this is an industry that's backed by Wall Street. It really has been a much more profitable or kind of bigger industry. It's been growing a lot. Again, these are kind of areas that banks sometimes don't want to make loans. And so private lenders, again, backed now by Wall Street primarily, are stepping in.
Yeah, and doesn't help the image that people already have of that.
Of what? The lenders, Wall Street, or the
Baltimore.
neighborhoods?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, you know, it's really whenever you have bankruptcies and foreclosures related to Wall Street, it has nothing to worry about. Now, this next clip is called Blame, and I have a note next to it that says blame what? And I don't know if this is going to be as convoluted as I thought it was when I pulled it last week. But let's listen to it and see where the blame is being placed and see if it makes sense.
So you recently went to a conference in Las Vegas, and you heard from a co-founder of Rock Capital. So what did he have to say about the industry and everything that's been going on?
Yeah, so what he had said was that really the people to blame are appraisers. You know, appraisers are the people that set the value, that are supposed to be kind of a neutral third party that say truly what a house is worth. And so if an appraiser says the house is worth $200,000, a bank feels much more comfortable making a loan to, you know, that is reflective of that value. But if the appraiser gets the value wrong, that can have really big implications. And as we're seeing here, we have these 700 homes that were valued very high. They had, our investigation found that they used the same appraisers over and over and over again. And again, then they go to foreclosure and no one wants to buy them, which indicates that they're not worth what they were being appraised at.
Yes, and Jack, that makes you think, well, why would they continue over and over again if they're seeing this this pattern with all the others?
Great question. I should say that a lot of these foreclosures happen in a big wave, you know, so a lot of these loans are made over a couple years, but then the foreclosures kind of come as a big wave. So.
Yes, not what you want to hear.
So it's fraud.
Yeah, basically. It's appraisers inflating value, according to the Rock Capital co-founder. But I will say this, like in Mississippi, if you get an appraisal that you can dispute and provide comparable properties to dispute that valuation, either low or high, you can take it to the appraiser, dispute the appraisal, and even if they come back and don't change the value given your comps, you can take it to a board of appraisers. And especially if you see a pattern, you can take it to the board of appraisers. So there have been remedies for these lenders and investors along the way, and I think they're covering up some of their culpability in this by just blaming appraisers.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a unique situation with my house where I'm in a neighborhood where there's probably 10 other houses that look just like my house, and they turn over and sell. And so I'm pretty much keyholed into, this is your tax rate. This is the appraisal, which sucks. But, you know, it is what it is. I can't.
You know, I have a friend who, as a service, you know, I have my real estate license, and I'm single-handedly trying to fight the reputation that realtors have. But that comment alone could probably get me kicked out of the Realtor Association. But I have a friend who's also a realtor up in Tennessee, and as a service, he will go and appeal tax valuations. And for payment of this service, he'll take 50% of the first year's savings on an adjusted tax basis. And what he does is he takes a portfolio of houses to the taxing authority and basically horse trades with the taxing authority and says, well, you know, I agree. If they fight him on reducing a property's value for tax purposes, he'll agree on some of them, but then ask for concessions on higher priced properties so that he can save clients money on their tax assessment and earn a commission basically for doing that paperwork and dealing with the taxing authority on behalf of his clients. I think it's a pretty good, largely unknown service that anyone can do.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I'd actually love to hear more about that. Because that sounds like fun. You get to screw the government and get paid for it. Hell yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't even know what my taxes are going towards. That's the thing. I'm paying such high taxes. I'm like, what?
Daycare.
Is probably because it's not going to fix the streets. Hell,
yeah.
The potholes. Yeah, it's insane. So I would love to look into that more. Make it a career. Screwing the government. I think I would very much appreciate that.
With property values around you in the city, you probably could make a decent living just doing that.
I think so. There's a lot of markets. You caught my interest, that's for sure.
And if you think about it from your client's perspective, yeah, you're paying half of your savings for the first year, but that tax assessment, at least in Tennessee, I'm pretty sure it's good for 4 years.
Yeah, usually it's like a 3 to 4 year window.
Yeah.
Before no reappraisal. We had a guy.
So it's a no-brainer, because if it doesn't get adjusted down, then you don't owe your in that fee structure anyway. You don't owe anything.
Right. I think the appraiser a lot of times. So the city has an appraiser that comes out and appraises the value of your property for tax purposes, and I think you cannot let him into your house is one of the things. Because you let him into your house and he's able to see like visible improvements.
Yeah.
You can get an increase in taxes, but I don't think you have to physically be there, and so you can just not answer the door. So that might be one of the advantages of a Ring camera. You can save money on tax valuations while redoing your inside to your heart's content.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might be wrong. I'm just a podcaster.
Oh, well, do you have, what else do you have for us tonight? I've got 2 more distinct topics. My last one will be a look forward to 2026, a short clip about that. And then I've got one in the about some crime out of Boston.
Well, let's just do those, because everything that I wanted to talk about, I've talked about or we've mentioned. The only thing I have is like a Nate Silver clip of him being shocked that some Democrats don't think 2024 was a mistake.
Oh, boy.
But it's from Fox News. So
yeah.
It's really not that interesting. So let's see your clips.
Okay, well, let's hear about the crime that's happening in Boston. There was a heist in Boston.
Ooh, a Boston heist.
Seafood was stolen. The FBI is investigating after $400,000 worth of lobsters disappeared after the shipment left a warehouse here in Massachusetts.
Well, were they real lobsters or were they mislabeled?
Consumer investigative reporter Bianca Beltran reports this theft is believed to be part of a larger pattern of organized cargo theft.
Well, the lobster was essentially handed over to the thieves because a shipping industry leader familiar with the incident told me that they appear to be impersonating a legitimate trucking company.
We look at this lobster theft as kind of a wake-up call. Our supply chain is under attack, and you know, if we don't act now, consumers will continue to pay the price at the checkout line.
Chris Burrows is CEO and president of the Transportation Intermediaries Association, representing third-party logistics companies that ship goods. He says on December 12th, the fraudsters were masquerading as a legitimate truck company when they arrived at the Lineage Logistics cold storage facility in Taunton to pick up $400,000 worth of frozen lobster meat.
They had an email address that was very similar to the email address of the trucking company. There was actually an extra dash put in, which unfortunately was not picked up on.
The lobster was supposed to be delivered to Costco warehouses in Illinois and Minnesota, but the shipment disappeared.
There was GPS tracking on the truck. They turned that off as well. So this is a very sophisticated, organized criminal ring of cargo theft that's going on.
Burrows says cargo theft is a growing concern as criminals become more sophisticated at impersonating legitimate businesses. Homeland Security estimates that cargo theft accounts for $15 to $35 billion in loss annually.
And these costs just don't disappear. Obviously, insurance rates go up, costs throughout the supply chain go up, and then ultimately, as consumers, we kind of, pay that as we go to the shelves or the grocery store.
So the trade association that Chris Burrows leads is advocating for legislation that aims to strengthen federal enforcement of cargo theft, as well as close regulatory loopholes that criminals are exploiting. In the newsroom, I'm consumer investigative reporter Bianca Beltran.
Bully Steed asks, maybe this is a case of a protein Robin Hood trying to supply some protein orphans.
Oh, these Somalians.
Oh, that's fun.
Okay. My look forward to 2026 is coming out of Peru. There are some shamans in Peru, and I think they outdo us in their predictions.
Oh boy, I'm excited for this one.
What awaits the world in the new year 2026?
Of course it's from Weon.
Some predictions are in.
Well, So the Associated Press does a piece on this, and so does Reuters. But they do these videos where it's just the text blocks, and there's not any audio other than the people talking, like the Peruvian shamans talking. So it's unclippable. So I had to go to Old Faithful, which is Weon.
Old Faithful.
Shamans in Peru have made striking predictions for global politics. End of Russia-Ukraine war and a serious illness for U.S. President Donald Trump, all expected to happen in the year to come. These predictions are part of an annual ritual wearing traditional ceremonial attire. About a dozen shamans and healers in Peru gathered at Agua Dulce Beach on Monday. They set up an altar decorated with photographs of prominent world leaders, including U.S. President Trump, Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro, Russian President Putin, Chinese President Xi Jinping, and Ukrainian President Zelensky. Surrounded by flowers, leaves, skulls, and burning incense. During the ceremony, the shamans waved flowers before a poster of Donald Trump and predicted that he would fall seriously ill in the year to come, 2026. They also foretold that the Russia-Ukraine war would come to an end this year, that's 2026, bringing lasting peace. Another major prediction focused on the downfall of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, with the shamans claiming he would ultimately flee the country.
I think that's... Hey, bloody buddy.
The conflict between Russia and Ukraine is in conversation, as if they were calling for attention. I see this conflict will end. It will finish. They will raise the flag of peace. In 2026, we see Mr. Nicolas Maduro defeated. Nicolas Maduro will flee Venezuela. He will not be captured. He will flee Venezuela.
Last year, Peruvian shamans had predicted a bizarre alliance between Trump and Putin, which would exclude China and potentially trigger a third world war. The group had also predicted natural disasters in Canada and Japan.
Well, Japan hit. I don't know about Canada, except, the price of cheese. So
wildfires, right?
There were wildfires, but the earthquakes in Japan were a surprise. So they might be onto something. And, Nicolas Maduro fleeing Venezuela, that's not that big of a stretch, I don't think.
Yeah.
The everlasting peace between Ukraine and Russia would be interesting to see. And Donald Trump falling very ill, who knows, man? If I have to see one more article about his hands bruising, I'm going to lose it, but we'll see.
Yeah, I thought this was entertaining.
I like that.
Very easy predictions to make.
Yeah, indeed. They must listen to the show. If I had to guess.
Well, just be thankful that we don't dance around and shake maracas and moan while we talk about our predictions.
Right. We just moan.
And now, the longest outro in podcasting.
The longest outro for the 200th show. It's hard to believe, John. We could turn a thing that we enjoy doing into a show that people listen to and a lifelong friendship.
Yeah, I agree. It is kind of remarkable.
Feels good, man. we did receive a late donation, another show number donation that wants to be tacked on next week. So,
okay,
big bump to the end of the year. Thank you, Cousin Vito. We'll read it next week as well. I just noticed it, so it's a great email to open. I'll tell you that much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
But until then, we'll see you next year. This is the last Tuesday of 2025.
Show number donations do not have to be on momentous shows.
Yeah, you can send.
And I'm, in the past I've said I hope I never get unthankful for what people send us, and I really am thankful for everything everyone has done for us, returning value to us, and I'm serious about my request. I want this to be a very valuable product for you, and I don't want to be complacent in the value that we provide. So if you don't feel that the show is worth contributing to and helping to keep going, let us know why. Help us to improve. Help us make it something you value. It's a win-win.
Yeah. Be a part of the community, of the fun community. Hey, we've got custom Glock backplates now. If you send us a couple $100, I'll send you one of these bad boys. Yeah, it'll be fun. 2026 is going to be a good year. Maybe not for Trump and his illness, but for MMO, you better believe it, and for everyone on the offensive. But from St. Louis, Missouri, I have been Dan Gehring.
And from America's South Coast, where we've got cows, I've been John G. Dew.
That's right. And when you have put one in the chamber, look back at the back of your gun and realize it's MMO OTO branded, and just realize your wife's pretty cool. Your life's
yes, and
pretty
just
cool.
Look at the confusion in the eyes of your home invader when you say, I'm on the offensive.
OTO, mofo. See you next year.
Now, as we've reported, there's a foreclosure crisis brewing.
No.
That
was a fun one. That was a good one.
Yeah. It would have been a shame to have not been a good one with everything going on.
I know. It was just like, last night I'm pulling clips. I'm like, hell, this is a ripe tree of fruit. This week is a fruity week.
Careful with that one.
That's right. Titles: Germanology, Grampocalypse, Gramageddon, The Olds Are Next, H1 Evaporate, Good Morning Vaccine Nation, Flu Conscious, Just the Pulp. I forgot we talked about that. Quality Leering, Hype Edits, Sex and Tribes, The Foobar Zone, Decades in a Week, Rod of God, Tofu Protein, and Protein Orphans.
Ooh. You still like Protein Orphans?
I think it's fun. I do.
Yeah. Do we have any art?
We got 612 Get It On, Quality MMO Center. I'm not even sure what that's in reference to. Wolf, we're going to need some... What is this Quality MMO Center? (612) Get It On. Get It On. Quality MMO Center.
I think we go with the cake.
I agree. It's a treehouse. What? You lost me on this one, Wolf. I'm sure if you explain it, it'll pop out at me. Let's see if the troll room, quality quality Leering Center. I get it. That's actually very funny. So it's like a take on The Somali thing. Yeah, I love that. That's good.
It's a good concept, but I think the 200 cake takes the cake.
Takes the cake. Very good. So protein orphans. And then I was thinking where you told me to drop that thing or us saying Happy New Year in German was pretty funny too.
Okay, let's hear them.
So here's. Why aren't you making sound? Make sound. Playback device. That one. Of 217,000 people in 2023.
Almost like it's self-inflicted.
Frickin' idiots. There's that. And then I don't actually know where the donation segment was. Actually, if you're strong, like if you can take over Europe and then launch your attacks at North and South. The Lebanese terrorist group is making inroads in Venezuela.
You know what?
The president has also not shied away from the idea of...
Did you hear me just say I'm for it?
Target in
once the oil is low
in the facility.
This guy's really on it. Regime, and it's a very fascinating.
I don't even know where the donation segment is.
It's about at 7:30.
Yeah. I didn't notice that. Third guy from the left. Yeah, that's funny. There we go.
We have an MMO.
Dan at MMO.show or John at... What's great is the people that reach out, and I people that like come section 200 more shows, Berlin. None other than Berlin, and I'm actually going to pull this back to my screen here. Berlin came in through PayPal with a show number donation of $200. And he says, wishing the two of you ein frohes neues Jahr. While listening through Fuentes' super chat section, 200 more shows, Berlin. Do you know what eins frohes neues Jahr means?
Eins frohes neues Jahr.
Eins frohes neues Jahr. It means Happy New Year. Nah. Do you know what eins frohes neues Jahr means? While listening, ein frohes neues Jahr.
Eins frohes neues Jahr.
Might be something there.
Of all,
like this is about countering China and Russia's influence in Nigeria. Evangelicals.
Analysis.
Thank you, Eric Pepe. You just got crispy for a minute. And I figured out I can fix it on my end.
So yeah, evangelicals. I get what you're saying.
Evangelicals.
Analysis.
Thank you, Eric Pepe.
Yep. So yeah, evangelicals. I get what you're saying. And this.
And anybody get the ISOs or needle droppers? Quality Leering Center. They thank you, Wolf, for the explainer there. It was good. I like the concept. Oh, I see. Let me play that one.
Well, okay, no.
Really... Alrighty, John.
Actually, hold on. Let me unplug and plug my microphone back in.
Really
there's no
serious.
need.
Hold on. Let me. Okay, fine. You're crispy. Hold on, John Jadu.
And there's a Gen Z element. The narrative that is from an Atlantic Council. Okay, that was the wrong clip.
Okay, let's see. Does ISOBot have anything?
It's got a lot.
Are they good?
Well, I've been listening to what you're playing and them, so. These people have so many nicknames.
Yeah, that's Wolf.
Okay, that's Wolf. All right.
Yeah, I know.
I've always called him by his other name. These people have so many nicknames.
Yeah, that's great is the people that reach out.
Okay, that's Wolf. All right.
Yeah, I know.
I've always called him by.
Tell me what they're $200, and he says, "Wish you du hast Manner Tieten." Hello. Thank you, Berlin. Hello. Around with masks on all the time, and then COVID happened, and they were like, "Aha!
Told you so."
Our superior intelligence led us to believe that this was the proper action.
See numbers start to uptick after all these.
But, that's why I'm here, to put my ignorance on display so people can write us and say, hey, you're ignorant. Here's where you're wrong.
That's the holiday period.
I thought they liked warm and moist. Everything else likes warm and moist, but viruses like cold and dry?
Call you, like if I say hurty words to you.
That's what I got.
I don't know, man.
Girl, I would like a respiratory illness crystal ball.
All the time saying, hey, doc, do I...
Oh, dumb stuff.
People move inside and are close together. That's the holiday period.
I thought they liked warm and moist. Everything else likes warm and moist, but viruses like cold.
I think that out of context is pretty funny. I thought they liked warm and moist. Everything else likes warm and moist. Well, that logic tracks.
That's the holiday period.
I thought they liked warm and moist. Everything else likes warm and moist, but viruses like cold and dry? Okay.
How clean is it when you cut it out?
I need to find it in our recording. It was pretty early on. We were talking about viruses.
So, flu case surge, ABC.
Experience any sort of germinology.
Not one that anyone. So, now that we've talked about basically vaccinating, my question is the data collection on this.
The flu virus, as well as
Stay
RSV,
inside.
which is also circulating, is a respiratory
I feel like
illness.
Good Morning
And then
Vaccine
washing our
Nation
hands,
could be a
cleaning
good
hot touch
opening.
You know where that happened?
It was around where you just were. Good Morning America was the last clip. An early front, not one that anyone in medicine is going to accept. We saw that with the COVID vaccine.
Right.
Okay, so to that idea with everyone being, they kind of paint the picture of everyone being huddled around inside over the holiday.
Their super
holiday
spreader
time.
Christmas party.
4.6 million.
Older people could be next. What dubious to say? Of course it is.
You still recommend that people get the
and
shot
wait,
for this.
just wait 1 second. Any protection from a flu tested.
Provider about antivirals like Tamiflu. We typically give those for high-risk patients, but they are best used when started within 2 days of symptom onset.
Around each other all the time.
And viruses love cold, dry air. They love when people move inside and are close together. That's the holiday period.
I thought they liked warm and moist. Everything else likes warm and moist. Warm and moist. Everything else likes warm and moist. They liked. I thought they liked warm and moist. Everything else likes warm and moist, but that. I thought they liked warm and moist. Everything else likes warm and moist. You like that?
It's not very clean.
Risk, for example, if
an early front runner for the
shown that these vaccines are providing protection.
So now that we've talked, older people could be next. What? is this a known vector of spread? I mean, thinking about it, I guess you could justify it by saying, okay, kids are at school, they're at daycare, they're spreading it amongst themselves, but I don't know. It seems dubious to say the. Of course it is.
So you still recommend that people get the
and
shot
wait,
for this?
just wait 1 second. A flu vaccine. So it's gonna be. There's 2 clips from GMA that end this segment, and it's the introduction to the first one of those.
Everyone's inside more often.
Appeal to that idea with everyone being, they kind of paint the picture of everyone being huddled around inside over the holiday.
Their super
holiday
spreader
time.
Christmas party.
Right.
Celebrating
Yes.
the birth.
Let's move on to the next 3 clip hitter here and do MS now. Going to be after this. We did 3 clips, 2, and 2.
We always talk about how, yes, we have the holiday gatherings, but
a whole dedicated 20 seconds to the norovirus, and I lumped in their talk about, of course, they've got to talk about COVID. So norovirus and COVID.
there's also a spike in norovirus. New strain.
Probably beacon tracking system. So I wonder if that's how they're getting these projections as to it's worse
The
when we've
cases?
seen. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Probably.
We're sharing common space, clinical service, this 19 vaccine.
So if you go to wastewaterscan.org and this could be good. Let this play for a second. World. So if you go to wastewaterscan.org and click dashboard in the top right corner, you'll see a list of things that they scan for. Measles is at the top of my list. It's low. SARS-CoV-2, high, mostly in the East Coast. RSV, high, mostly in the New England region and Southeast. Influenza A, whole nation, whole world. Influenza world. Influenza B, low. Human metapneumonia virus, low. EVD68.
Oh, God.
Low, but high in the West Coast. Norovirus, high all over the country.
EVD68?
Yes.
That sounds like something you spray on your robot to keep it from rusting.
Yeah, maybe. Candida auris, AURIS. Hepatitis A and Candida auris, whatever that is low. Hepatitis A is low. Mpox on the list. Monkeypox.
That's right.
Not detected, but Mpox clade 2 is medium, low. Not detected everywhere east of
San Francisco.
Well, it's funny you say that. It's only the West that has any indication of Mpox clade 2.
All right, I'm not hearing anything in there.
Yep. We started talking about other things that would be in the wastewater right after that. Well, it's funny you say that. It's only the West that has any. How did you know? And then a new one to the list. I check this every now and then. A new one to the list. West Nile virus.
Oh boy.
Not detected.
Well, the skeeters are dead. It's too cold for them now.
Are we getting the dashboard ready for next summer? West Nile summer 2026?
Well, you know who the big players are. You got swine flu on there?
No.
No? What about...
swine flu, I think, is a type of influenza A, though.
What about anthrax in the male? Is that on the list?
No, that one's not on the list.
Oh,
but actually, you do a little drop down here and a little toggle there. You get anthrax by male. One site where that's high, that's Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. What about exploding pages? All right, I'm done now.
It says, please see global map.
Yeah. Please check your pager. Nothing.
I think. Well, what do you want to use?
I don't know. Seeing you as a Pete if they don't get these recommended amount of vaccines, or
if you're having severe
holiday. That's the GMA holiday.
Their super
holiday
spreader
time.
Christmas party.
Right.
Celebrating
Yes.
the birth of Christ.
That's one of the reasons why we're not
Bigots.
just seeing the flu rise, but we're also seeing RSV, which unfortunately is leading to a lot of infants coming into the hospital and older patients. And then there's neurovirus, which causes...
You said it was the end of the intro clip for that?
No. It's the introduction to the first GMA clip.
Okay.
So treating kids, ABC.
For
risk is there. Now, what parents...
This is ABC, not GMA.
Right. So keep going forward.
around each other. 0.6 million have experienced the flu. 49
apocalypse.
Let's move on to the next 3-clip hitter.
It's after the
here
3
and
clips.
Do MS Now. A severe virus.
For CBS Saturday Morning, I'm Katie Weiss.
Okay, there's CBS.
Fresh from the scene.
It's that
so
bad.
flu cases are likely related to this variant.
That's right. We don't even know where the kids went, or if they were ever here.
This strain is called H1 Evaporate.
That's right. They just completely went away.
They were coughing and then boop, gone.
Wipe your ass with your handitis. That's I think.
Okay, let's round this out with everyone's favorite morning show. Good morning, Vaccine Nation. Morning. Oh, good morning, Vaccine Nation.
Let's do it.
Sure.
Sure.
I mean, there's nothing better. It kind of sucks, but there's nothing better.
It's always reassuring. Sure.
Of other countries.
Was the intro for 200 great? Sure. Perfect. Okay. Okay. Are you monitoring the chat room at all?
No.
You should be. A lot of times people say stuff in there. Okay. Join clips.
There is nothing to do with me. Good morning, Vaccine Nation.
It must be quite apparent by this time to any thinking individual.
Perfect.
Is that a wrap?
That's a wrap. What are we going with? Protein Orphans.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot. Good show.
Yeah.
Fun one.
Chock full.
What it really was. Oh shit, I got it.
All right. My crying daughter has stopped crying, so I need to go see if things are better or much, much worse.
I know that feeling.